Socks on. Socks. He just got his holiday socks.
Perfect.
I'm ready whenever you are.
Yeah.
Could have took something else.
Got the settlement agreement, so I'm gonna print
Yeah, what that is.
it later and grab it for
I
you
could
to
give
sign
him
so I can scan it back to them, and I'll do the wire tomorrow morning.
Well, I think she saw me come in too, and like I had my black sweater on, like my normal work stuff, and then just like
I'm ready
put
whenever.
my sweater on over there, and she's like,
Yeah, I saw Deb. I don't see Bob, but I do see Deb.
I changed before I left MCSD.
Hopefully I'll get
I've changed that was I changed while we were I was dropping kids off to the other babysitter. Not babysitter, or was it the other?
You ready, Randy?
Then I'm like,
Okay.
Yeah, I put it in my bag last night. So
Up to the top.
I knew I would.
we might be ready, but no one else seems to be ready.
They will be. Good evening. We'll call the meeting to order. This is the time and the place for the December 16, 2024 regular board meeting for the Marshtown Community School District Board of Education. Welcome to those of you joining us here in person. Welcome as well to anybody who might be watching via the live stream or tuning in some late evening trying to get some sleep. We've got a pink sign-up sheet there on the speaker's table for anybody who wants to address the board during public comment time. You will be given 5 minutes to address the board. Understand that Iowa law prohibits the discussion of specific employees of the district or their job performance. Also, in accordance with board policy, board members will not respond to comments so that we can comply with open meeting laws. I should do introductions. Board members here this evening, starting to my right, we have Zach Wall. And then to my left, Karina Hernandez, Maria Morales, and Leah Stanley. Seated immediately to my left is Dr. Theron Schutte, the Superintendent of Schools. And to my right, Mr. Randy Denham, our Board Secretary. And I am Sean Heitman. We've also got one of our student school board reps here this evening, Lege Paw. Is that all the announcements, Randy? Okay. Would you all please join me then in reading the mission statement of the Marshalltown Community School District? We develop learners who have the knowledge, skills, and positive mindset to successfully pursue a meaningful future through personalized learning experiences. And please stand as you're able and join in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
all of our things.
I know, jingles.
Are there any changes to the agenda tonight?
Yes, we had a couple of last-minute additions. 1.03 is a donation from author Dave Marquardt, who was in the district a few weeks ago, and then 2 weeks ago did some community presentations on his book, From Dubuque to Selma and Beyond, My Journey to Understand Racism in America. He had books for sale at the public meetings that he had at Rotary and the library, and made a $500 donation back to the district from the proceeds of those book sales. And then we also had a donation, a very generous donation today of books from Walmart for middle school aged youth, totaling about $366, I think. So we would like to acknowledge that. The only other thing, just for your attention, we have a contract in personnel for Chuck Springer to be the project manager at the Franklin Field project, and that would be at a rate of $59 an hour.
Is there a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved.
Second.
Wall, Stanley? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries 5-0. Abby, you doing recognitions?
I can start with the first
Okay.
one. Deb and Dr. Moore, if you could come forward, please. So I promise this is the last, well, I better, for right now, I intend for this last time that I call you forward to the board meeting. But last board meeting, we recognized our wonderful couples who helped lead the Reimagine Miller Committee. And I was somewhat remiss at not bringing you in at that time to thank you for your work, not only in the Community Stakeholder Committee, which then I further recruited you to be the representatives of that group that did a lot of work last spring and summer. And then you crossed over and continued to provide a bridge between Community Stakeholder and Reimagine Miller. And so we just have a small token of the district's appreciation. They're Bobcat coasters, so Jeff might fight you for them. But we really do thank you from the bottom of our hearts. You were two great ambassadors for us and contributed greatly to the successful vote. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome to say a few words.
So next up is a School Nutrition Association recognition, recognizing the local School Nutrition Association chapter for their generous donation of $1,187.33 to be given, split evenly among the 6 elementary buildings, so we appreciate their support. Also, you might have seen a Facebook post about this past weekend, but it was Athletic Director Appreciation Day. On Sunday, the Marshalltown Community School District will like to recognize both Ryan Isgrig and Jeff Tice for their work as athletic directors. A day of recognition was held on Sunday, December 15th, to honor those who contribute to the success of sporting events and athletic careers. We appreciate their dedication of both Ryan and Jeff to the district and our Bobcat student athletes. And then, as Dr. Schutte mentioned, Dave Markward recognition for his donation, and then the Walmart donation from this morning.
Do you think there was any coincidence of the Athletic Directors Day being on the one day of the week that they might get rest on Sunday?
They might be scrolling on that day, you never know. See it that way.
Thank you.
Thanks, Abby. Looking at the consent agenda, we've got minutes from the December 2nd board meeting and the December 2nd work session. Jackie, are there any items of note in personnel?
Abby, get your picture or camera out.
Yes.
After this?
If any of us are still standing.
Tonight, I'd like to read a few kind words from Principal Kyle Young. Laura Fricke has been a valuable team member at Lenahan for many years. She has dedicated nearly 20 years of service to Marshalltown. Her commitment to making high-quality learning fun for her students, expertise in the area of math and science, and passion for supporting her students in all aspects of their education will be tough to replace. She does a great job of making the workplace fun for everyone. We were all fortunate to work alongside Laura, and we wish her nothing but the very best in her retirement. We'll have probably many more of these over the next couple of months.
Thank you, Jackie. Looking at interagency agreements and contracts, there's a memorandum of understanding amendment with Western Governors University for the extension of the teacher paraeducator registered apprenticeship program, an educational assistance agreement with special education staff for completion of special ed Strat 2 endorsement, a project manager agreement for construction project management services for Franklin Field construction project with Chuck Springer, a change order 1 for the Orpheum Kitchen project to add additional wiring for a stove requirements. The additional cost was $905. Memorandum of agreement with Boys Town On the Way program for aftercare program to support students transitioning back to public school from residential placement. A contract with Access Therapy Center to provide service to special ed students directly within schools to train staff and consult with school staff. A agreement with Hay Construction Services to install the sunshades at the tennis court facility. A McKinney-Vento Transitional Inter-District Transportation Agreement between Iowa City Community School District. An agreement with Trenton Finders for the translation of dual language math curriculum from English to Spanish. And a Power Schools contract adjustment due to the increase in number of students. And then we had some interagency special ed agreements for one student with Bondurant Farrar and 8 students with BCLUW. Questions about any of those contracts agreements? We had 2 open enrollments. Randy, anything to note in bills or in the monthly financials?
No, sir.
Questions for Randy about the bills or the monthly financials? We had 3 donations, all of which have been discussed, but the donation from the local school nutrition association chapter to the 6 elementary buildings, the $500 donation from Dave Marquardt, and the donation of 150 paperback books to the middle school from Walmart. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Wall Hernandez. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries 5-0. Nobody's on the pink sheet, so Tim, you guys are up.
Might be easier. All right, good evening. This is a team from Franklin Elementary. We appreciate the opportunity to see you guys tonight and visit with you. We really appreciate the board members that were able to join us on Friday and have a chance to visit Franklin. I'm going to have the presentation team introduce themselves. They'll share their name and their role. I am Tim Holmgren, and I am the principal.
I'm Amy Phillips. I'm the instructional coach. Sorry.
Bree Riddle, special ed teacher.
Taylor Nealon, special ed teacher.
Shelby Witzke, special ed teacher.
And Danny Minkle, school counselor.
Got it. Okay. Tonight during our time with you, we really want to highlight one of the big changes that have taken place at Franklin for this school year. About January, February last year, we started having systemic conversations around special education programming in our district. And a lot of that stemmed from 2 things. One, the number of students we had with significant needs, but also staffing. So this first slide just kind of talks a bit about where we were at that time, the approximate numbers of students with special needs that were above and beyond what we would consider to be our level 1 or our resource level students. As you can see there, the first one, there were 16 students that were being considered for behavior disorder programming. There were 42 students being considered for extended core programming. And then there were 10 students being considered for alternate assessment. A lot of this stems from just the needs of the students and our responsibility as a school district to meet those needs within our schools. The way that staffing is related to this is, as you know, there is a teacher shortage. And that is very evident in the area of special education, especially in the licensure area of Strat 2 teachers, not only in our district, but across the state. And so licensure really depends on the category in which they are licensed. Our teachers, these three ladies that are here at the table with us, are all licensed in the area of BD. A couple of them are also licensed in other categories as well. In order to be considered for Strat 2 programming, these students require more than 41% of their day to be outside the gen ed classroom. And that is a pretty significant amount of time for students when you consider how much instructional time we have with students. But that is really what distinguishes which students would be eligible to receive Strat 2 services. Okay. And again, I'll just say the Strat 2 is all about licensure. Okay, and what the state recognizes as coursework and experience that teachers have achieved in their preparation to be teachers. One of the other driving factors in this work that we did is the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or affectionately known as IDEA. The two main areas of IDEA that really affect us every day would be free and appropriate public education, which we refer to as FAPE, and then child find. The IDEA law is very large and cumbersome, and there's a lot of things involved in that law that impact schools of all in all communities at all grade levels, secondary, elementary, post-secondary in some cases. But these are the two that we spend the most time having discussions about in our responsibility. Free and appropriate public education, FAPE, is simply the requirement that we are providing a free and appropriate public education for all students. That's going to look different for students, no matter where they are going to school, no matter what building, what district. But that's what this team does a lot of, and that is something that we are always considering when we're looking to see how we're going to meet their needs. Child Find is the process that we partner with the AEA to identify students who have those additional needs that need to be addressed with our programming. Okay. Programming philosophy. You guys want? I got it. They were going to pay me so that they didn't have to talk. So they're just here to look good and field any questions you guys have them at the end. When we started talking about this programming, we knew there were certain things we had to meet. One of them is we had to meet FAPE for every individual student. Behavior instruction has to be taught like math and reading. If a student doesn't have a skill, or they're missing that skill, or it's lagging, then we have to teach it. And so our instructional minutes in our school day have to reflect that our kids need that. We provide that, and we'll learn more about it in a couple slides, but we provide that through our school counselor, Mrs. Minkle. She provides direct instruction to our students on our 6-day cycle, and that is really the basis for our instruction. Has to do with social skills, has to do with routines, procedures, how we treat other kids, how we treat adults, how we are in the community. And all that stems from her instruction. And then our classroom teachers do additional lessons to support that work. We will teach the skills in the setting where a student can be most successful with the right supports. So later in the presentation, you're going to see a couple video clips in which both classrooms have students that are integrated to receive their general education access, to receive their FAPE, and they have different levels of supports in the classroom. One of the things that we often talk about is we know we're being successful in what we want to do when anyone can walk into one of our classrooms, not be able to tell which students need certain supports, okay, and that the lesson is flowing, the teacher's managing the lesson the way they need to, and we're providing the instruction that we are responsible for. One of the biggest challenges for these three ladies and any other special education teacher across the district is the transfer of skills between settings. So as these ladies provide SDI, specially designed instruction for students with their social skills or other skills related to behavior, we have to work to transfer, meaning that we will see those same skills not only isolated in their small group instruction, but also in the classrooms and ultimately in the community as our kids age and become more involved in community activities.
in addition to the direct instruction that we provide for the students, our staff has also gone through some various trainings to ensure that we have the tools that we need to, one, not only set up the structure and the climate that we want the children to learn in, the students to learn in, but also so that worst case scenario, we know what to do if the situation becomes unsafe. So responsive classroom, this is our third or fourth year utilizing responsive classroom, and that's really it is not a curriculum at all. That is really a systematic approach to how we want our entire building to be structured. That really gives teachers the tools that they need to be able to kind of build the classroom climate that any student would want to be a part of. It also subsequently then lends to an environment where students can achieve the academic learning that's derived through the academic work. CPI stands for the Crisis Prevention Institute, and that is the program that the district uses to not only help teachers learn the de-escalation tools to work with students when they are in kind of crisis mode, but also then equips staff with the adequate and appropriate physical interventions for when a student possibly becomes unsafe. And those two levels of training are not specific to special education students. Those are to be used throughout the building with any and all students.
What we moved on to is talking about the different levels of support, and Mrs. Minkle's talking about the training, and that's building wide. That's our certified staff, our non-certified staff. We had the opportunity this in pre-service time to offer all of our paraeducators responsive classroom 4-day training with a responsive classroom provider. She was actually the same provider that worked with our teachers in one of the sessions. So it was great for her. She came and visited our building recently, did another fidelity walkthrough, just seeing how we were doing with implementation, and she gave us some feedback that we've shared with staff. One of the other levels of support is the self-contained programming. That's where these three ladies come in. One of the big pieces of self-contained programming is the curriculums. And so we have the opportunity, the district has invested a lot in our programming to make sure that we have curriculums that are age and developmentally appropriate for our kids so they can understand the ideas and the skills that we're trying to present, provide them some practice time, and provide opportunities for our staff, not only certified staff, but non-certified staff, to provide them feedback during the day. Training is a big part of it, especially for our paraeducators. The only way to fully prepare yourself for this work is on-the-job training. And so as we have been onboarding new paraeducators throughout the school year already, those folks are typically set up with someone, a veteran para to shadow, so that they can kind of see what it's like to not only support a student within a classroom, but also within the classrooms when they are working with these three ladies here. So, you guys want to add anything about self-contained programming? Okay.
I think the biggest part of self-contained programming is para support. It is a big thing for integration, but when you're self-containing students, we could not do our job without para's assistance.
For the board members that were able to join us on Friday, we were in one of their classrooms, and it's common that you can have between 5 and 9 adults in that one classroom, but that is really gives the staff the opportunity to play zone defense, so that we know how to meet the kids' needs, and yet we have staff there to support the other staff in case things don't go the way that we'd like them to go. The next level of support is integration programming. As Mrs. Witzke mentioned, the para support. We're fortunate to have a very strong core of paraeducators that work with students with a variety of needs. We've been fortunate to be able to add some quality people to those ranks, and a few of them are here tonight. So we'd like to have you guys recognize them with us for the work that they do, because we could not do it without them. So we'd like to just do a round of applause for those. The next level of support that we wanted to make sure and mention was our school-based therapist. This is actually new to the building as well. Thank you. Mr. Ogston has been a district teacher, was formerly an ELL teacher at Franklin and as well as at Hoagland. And he has joined us this year and has as a school therapist. And so we are kind of learning through what that system could look like. We're in a great position with the addition of Mr. Ogston's position at Franklin, but also the district has added a school-based therapist to Lenahan. And we hope that this is something the district will continue to expand to fully ensure that our students will receive the level of support that they need throughout their academic career at Marshtown Community School District. One of the other levels of support we have is the therapeutic classroom. This classroom is intended to make sure there's enough adult support, just a fewer number of students being served there. They serve academic and behavioral needs. We work very closely with the therapeutic classroom. Kind of the vision for the relationship between the two sites is that we can kind of work together where kids can go between our two sites, depending on the things that they're going through at that time. And with the goal of always making sure those kids are integrated into our school like every other student. It takes a lot of collaboration and a lot of communication in order for us to realize the benefits of having the therapeutic classroom as a part of our district. Our final level of support would be our AEA personnel, and although the AEA looks extremely different than it has in the past, when it comes down to the building level, we still have great people that we can work with to find answers to things that maybe we don't know. And so the AEA continues to be a great level of support for us. Okay. We're now going to turn our attention to programming and the impact it has on different parts of our school day.
Since all teachers and paras could not be here tonight, we wanted everyone's voice to be heard. So we created a Google form and sent out some questions to them to answer. And so I took the answers to the questions and put them into a word cloud. And so you can see our first question we asked teachers, or what are the benefits you have seen for both general ed and special ed kids? And we were honest and upfront with them that it's okay to say that it's not easy, because we definitely know it isn't, but also that we wanted to highlight the great things we are seeing. So the word cloud, the way it works is the most frequent answers are the larger words. So you can see things that have been benefits so far: friendships, helping others, feelings of inclusion, connections, empathy, compassion, assertiveness. So those are all pretty exciting to see. The next question we asked was for the classroom teachers. How have you adjusted your classroom instruction to meet the needs of these kids and make them successful when they are in the gen ed classroom? And again, the larger words were the most common, just having expectations, using the reinforcing and envisioning language, which comes from the responsive classroom that Mrs. Minkle talked about. Having consistency, using visuals, giving choices, but structure and flexibility. Okay, and then Tim's going to talk to you about, or show you some clips of successful integration in the classroom.
All right, so the two classrooms that we're going to highlight for you, the first one is going to be a first grade classroom. And these are very short video snippets just to kind of bring the classroom to you, since you weren't all able to join us. Just so you have an idea that there are students as a part of our behavior program that are in each of these classrooms. So we're just going to play the first grade one first. Yeah, I don't know. The teacher is talking. She's not.
Type your new number 4.
What is the action verb that you're doing?
So that classroom was an example of integration without additional para support. And so in order for that to happen, and yes, it's a short snippet and there are days where it doesn't sound and look like that, but without the training that we've been through with Responsive Classroom and the other professional developments that we've had, this wouldn't be possible. This is the ideal situation for us to meet fate for those kids that are integrated into that first grade classroom. Okay. The next snippet is from a third grade classroom, and there is additional adult support in this classroom. So as you saw, there is additional support there. The teacher's actually behind me. She's checking in with one of the groups that are behind me. And so it kind of goes back to what we mentioned, not only in the visit on Friday, but earlier in our presentation about the importance of having the right people in the right positions. And so one of the things that we as a building would ask is for your continued support and for the district's continued support in providing opportunity for us to hire quality paraeducators to help support our programming.
So seeing the successes that we've had and the trainings that we've had, another question we asked teachers was, what advice would you give other classroom teachers? And again, you can see the larger responses, forming relationships, having consistency, making connections, clarity, being patient, being intentional. So I think we've learned a lot and come a long way with the support of our special education teachers and the trainings that we've had.
And I have the honor to introduce to you, which I think is the most important and impactful part of our presentation tonight. I have the honor of introducing the students' perspectives. These are the students who are going to stay with all of their classmates. In particular, some of these special education students that we've been highlighting tonight throughout the rest of their academic careers. So some of us have the opportunity to work with students for all 5 years that they're at Franklin. The classroom teachers really only have 1 year with the specific students, but these guys are the ones who are going to continue to be with them for years to come. So I think some of their perspectives are most important. The first short video we're going to watch is of 2 second graders who are in a general education classroom with special education students that receive behavior programming. And then I will stop after this one and I'll introduce the next video.
First one is care for others, care for property, and care for yourself.
Okay. Question 1, Marvin and Lily. How do you help your teacher when a classmate's having a hard time following our CARES expectations?
Like, take care of yourself and take care of others, and then leave them alone. And if the teacher tells you to do something, you have to do it because the teacher wants you to be safe.
Okay. Lily, how about you?
If the teacher said I had to go shut the door, and I said, okay, so I went and shut the door.
Okay. How do you help other students when they are having a hard time following the CARES expectations? Lily?
If one of my friends were like, if their feet were like straight at the carpet and the teacher was about to walk over them and I knew that the teacher would trip, I said, hey, can you do crisscross applesauce or mountain, because the teacher would probably trip on you and hurt the teacher.
Marvin, how about you?
Well, sometimes, like if people sometimes in my class, like they talk a lot, and like I tell them, can you please stop it? And then once a girl was talking to her friend, and I was like, can you please stop talking? It's distracting me, and I don't want you to get in trouble.
So as you can see, their perception doesn't seem very different than what I would expect a student in any of the other buildings who doesn't have behavior programming to sound like when they're talking about working with a classmate or a teacher that might be having a hard moment. The next video is of a third grade student who also shares a general education classroom with a student that purposefully was transferred to Franklin because of our behavior programming. So you can also hear from her perceptions.
Hello, my name's Aubrey, and I'm in third grade in Miss Dent's class. Franklin's 3 big rules are Franklin cares for self, Franklin cares for others, and Franklin cares for property. When we care for self, it looks like maybe you have like a friend playing with these 2 kids that you don't really know. You can maybe ask your friend, are these kids nice or something like that, if you want to play with her. When we care for others, it looks like maybe we're sitting in morning meeting, passing a ball, saying that what we did last winter break or something like that. For property, it looks like maybe we're picking up paper towels off the floor in the bathroom. Okay, so my friend was having a hard time following Franklin Cares for Others, and I told her maybe anytime, because she missed her grandpa, because he passed away, I guess, and I said that you can maybe visit him anytime, because she would kind of spend her anger out on me, exactly. And I said, it's okay if you're mad. It's just, I treat you nicely, so if you treat me nicely, I will be your friend. When my classmates are not following the rules, I help my teacher by showing the sign 0. When my class follows the 3 rules, my teacher says thank you. Franklin School is located in Iowa, in Marshalltown, and Main Street. Franklin Elementary.
Okay, so she was adamant that she was going to be on YouTube, and I couldn't get her to not specify where it was coming from. So she wanted to let everybody know exactly where this good school was that she went to. That's why the part was in the end.
Bobcat right there.
The other part, when I interviewed her, she had just gone through a situation with her friend, her classmate, who doesn't happen to receive behavior programming. But afterwards, when I was reflecting on it, that's what still stands out to her when her friend got upset with her, not when one of the kids who does receive behavior programming was having a crisis moment. Like that didn't burn an image in her brain. It was still what happened with her friend earlier that day or earlier that week that comes out. So as I was reflecting about it, I told myself, I think that's important because I want them to know that even though they share these classrooms, and they do share some chaotic moments at times, these are still the images and the problems that they perceive as what's most important to them, not when a chaotic moment, potentially an unsafe moment happens with another student in the classroom. They get back into routine and they move on, just like this girl did with her friend.
The next part of programming impact we're going to talk about is staff perception. So as Mrs. Phillips mentioned, we did kind of send out a Google form and ask some specific questions. One of the other questions we asked teachers is what challenges exist for you as a classroom teacher? Now, we're sitting before you tonight kind of talking about this because this is something we are proud of. We're proud of the work that we've put into this. We're proud of the investment the district has made in this to make it best. But please know, it is very challenging. It's very, staff can get frustrated, are tired at the end of the day. But we all understand the purpose. We all understand that it is our legal responsibility to make sure all students have access to the gen ed curriculum. So I thought some of these were pretty interesting when the teachers themselves shared the challenges. As you can take a look at the word cloud with me, and we have disruption of learning. It happens. Patience, students in crisis, student to teacher ratio, knowing student triggers, lack of time to communicate, disruption of instruction, data collection, big emotions and feelings. So one of the kids mentioned in the video clip that a student was angry. And so when we are working through and working to de-escalate with a student, we will often affirm it's okay to be angry. I said that the piece that we have to work on together is what do you do to take care of that anger so that you can be safe and that others can be safe. And that you'll hear that conversation quite often with our students. We'll affirm the emotions or the feelings they have, and then we try to go into that next conversation around, okay, we have this feeling, what are we going to do about it? How are we going to make sure you're safe, and how are we going to make sure other kids are safe? Those conversations not only happen with the people sitting at this table, but also our teachers and our paraeducators with kids, especially those paraeducators who work, a majority of their day with certain students. So I thought those were some interesting thoughts coming from our teachers. The next staff perception question is what challenges, this was for our paraeducators, what challenges exist for you as a para? You can see the peer interactions, encouraging and independent participation, providing assistance, encouraging students, helping kids work quietly, disrupting learning. It's not natural for an adult to sit in a classroom with first graders or kindergartners and then be there as a support for the classroom teacher. It's not a natural, you don't just naturally know what to do with that. And so it does take time for people to establish rapport with the students and rapport with the teachers, and that. So that kind of refers back to that on-the-job training that I mentioned previously. We also did a question just for overall staff. What does it take to have successful integration as a paraeducator? So the big ones there that you see are patience. It takes time. It takes collaboration. And with the fact that once the 8 o'clock bell starts and we have kids, school's moving. Things are going to happen. Things change. It's a very fast-paced job that the paraeducators have. So for them to recognize that it takes time, giving themselves a little grace, so we're not going to have all the answers all the time right away, especially for any new students that we're getting in. So I will often say to give yourself some grace. It'll be okay. We'll learn from it, and we'll move on. And that concludes our presentation. What questions might you have?
You mentioned the school therapist, and I know that I think yourselves and Lenahan have school therapists. Is that
correct?
That's it in the district, right? So
therapeutic classroom also
has their
has
own.
a therapist.
Oh, okay. Okay. So for the 3 teachers sitting here in the middle, how does that school therapist help with what you have to do every day and what you're dealing with on a day-to-day basis? How is that integrated into assisting you with your classroom and workload?
Well, Tom takes each of our kids a couple times a week in just a one-on-one setting. So he can discuss any issues that they're having outside in gen ed or what's in our classroom. And then occasionally, if he's available, he can come to our room when a student is in crisis and kind of help us figure out how to de-escalate the situation. So just depends on what it looks like for each student.
I think also we're coming at it with a teacher mindset. He's coming at it from a mental health mindset, so he might have some ideas that we're just not trained in or we don't have any idea of.
What would you define like a rewarding day with your students?
I think that it is hard to make a blanket statement about. Sometimes we're not even shooting for the whole day, Zach. Sometimes we're shooting for like an hour. It's really hard.
Different dependent on the students too.
The day, they all have their own specific behaviors of concern that they're working to eliminate or even prevent. So sometimes, I mean, some kids, they really are working at just section by section, like their independent math time, whole group math time. That's the small amount of chunks they can handle, but we have other students who are working on more of like a morning type reward system or an afternoon. Very few of our kids go a whole day at a time because that's just too much, one, for how little they are, but with the skills that they're working on. But sometimes literally the reward is just like you stayed in the conversation, you didn't run out when we were trying to debrief something. Other times the rewarding moment may be that they completed all their work without any protests. It really does. That's a difficult question because it really does just depend on the kid, the moment, what setting they're in, all the above. So sorry, I know that's not
That's
a
fine.
good, concise answer.
Speaking on the TAP board, I mean, I was impressed with how your staff was able to adapt. And not only your staff, the kids that they talked about were able to adapt. I was impressed. So.
I will mimic what Zach said. We went into a classroom and there was a kiddo off to the side. Teacher was still talking, very soft-spoken. He was still learning. I mean, he was still doing it, but he was in his own space and the kids were learning. And I just thought it was impressive how even throughout the building, there was things on the lights to dim it, to kind of set the mood lower. Just all of those things that the building has done to accommodate what you're accomplishing at your school. So thank you for that. It was noticed.
How often are parents notified when extreme levels, of behavior goes? And I know they're part of IEPs and conferences, but is it a daily basis if it happens every day, or?
Yeah.
And does that come from, is that
immediately
teacher communication, or does it come from you, Tim?
Actually, it's kind of it's a collection of communication. In incidences I think you're referring to, Mrs. Nealand is mentioning Chapter 103. Anytime we block egress of a student, then we are legally required. There's many timelines involved in that, face-to-face meetings. A lot of times we'll use Remind on a daily basis to kind of keep parents up to date, especially if they may be trying something new at home, or if they're trying something new in their own therapies and those things. Daily communication typically for a majority of our kids.
And does it go vice versa with good news too? Yeah.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes. Yeah, we certainly want to bring that to the attention of the families too.
For sure.
Any additional questions for our presentation team?
No additional questions, but thank you for everything you guys do every day and for that support.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ryan and Shannon, come forward. They got the memo.
They did.
Good evening. My name is Ryan Osborne, President of Junior Achievement in Central Iowa. My colleague Shannon with me as well, the Vice President of Education. We appreciate you having us here this evening. We were actually driving up here. We're worried that Dr. Schutte might have been joking about the sweaters, and we're like, it's too late now. Hopefully they actually are wearing Christmas sweaters. We appreciate you inviting us in and to share about an innovative high school instructional model we've been working on with the district called 3DE. And I know some of the board members had a chance to see it in person, but we put together some slides here just to kind of go over an overview of the program and kind of share some things that we've been working on with the district, why we're doing it, how we're doing it, how would we plan to do it, who would all be involved, those type of things. And so I'll kind of go over that, and then Shannon will share some information on the model itself. and then certainly allow some time for questions as you'd wish there. But, starting off here, I guess scroll. Okay, there we go. Thank you. Just wanted to start off by reminding folks of the great partnership we've had already with Marshalltown Community School District. I was telling Shannon on the way up here, I remember the first time I drove up here back in 2017 when we were getting the kindergarten through fourth grade programs together, and did a volunteer training just below us here in the conference room. And it's just been really great to see it grow over the years, K through 5, and then of course all the students come to our J. Biztown facility, and then really got some middle school programming going, and J. Finance Park, and I know some of you have come down to volunteer for that program as well. And so really 3DE for us, we came across this model. There were some other junior achievements cities doing this across the country. And we'd kind of researched it and kind of observed it several times before we thought it was time to launch it here in central Iowa. And the challenge at the time was, what school district do we approach this with? Because we really thought it was going to be a one school district from our capacity standpoint that we'd want to start with. And so it did take us long, though. Marshalltown was a pretty clear answer right away, just because of the clear partnership we'd had with the district and all the great work that we've done together up to that point. And so it really was a special invitation, and really excited to talk about why 3DE is an important model at the high school level. From junior achievement standpoint, it kind of goes back to, we're constantly trying to prepare students for the future. What are those skills that are really going to be necessary to help them succeed as they go on post-secondary, and really kind of ties into 6 core competencies that really the instructional model focuses on. Shannon will dive into those more in depth, but really it starts with relevancy. What are those skills they're going to need in the future? And then the second reason why the model was developed is to really try to address high school engagement. A lot of studies out there, kindergarten, about 85% of kindergartners are engaged in their learning. You get to 5th grade, it drops to about 60 to 65%. And then when you get to high school, it's really about less than half the high school population. And so, again, that model is trying to address that as well. How do you increase high school graduation? And really high school engagement, I should say, which, a lot of these things you see on this next slide here are connected, that ultimately might lead to high school graduation, and really starts with attendance. If you're not engaged, attendance drops, obviously, and that's an issue in a lot of different places around, certainly. But so if you can get them more engaged, you can get them there more often. Obviously, the achievement and the proficiency scores will go up. But as we learn more about the model, we also saw this as a way that school districts can really scale their work-based learning opportunities, which has obviously been a lot of great of those opportunities already happening here in Marshalltown. So it could be a way to grow and scale those. And then the other neat thing about it really is around teacher engagement and kind of the school culture outcomes that we've seen come out of this. And so we'll share some of those outcomes certainly and address those. But now I'll turn it over to Shannon. She will dive a little bit into the what in terms of the instructional model itself.
Yeah, good evening. So I like to think about the 3DE instructional model in these 4 components here, the 4 C's. So that first one is cohorts. So the students are cohorted as they are going along their 3DE journey, and the teachers are also cohorted as well on an interdisciplinary team. The model has a couple options: a school within a school, meaning one cohort, or a whole school model with multiple cohorts. And in discussion with Marshalltown, it sounds like the school within a school model would be the best fit for now, with the optionality to grow that as you go along. Cases, meaning that case methodology is really what the instructional model is built around, real world business cases that the students are working on together. And that brings me to that next one, which is collaboration. So that teamwork, that problem solving, as we all know in adulthood, can't get anything done by yourself typically. So you need to be on a team working together and learning those skills early and often, really mimicking the workplace. That last one, as Ryan mentioned, is those foundational 6 competencies that you'll see circulated throughout their 4-year progression, with the ultimate goal of mastering those 6 competencies by graduation. This next slide here, it does have a lot on it, but I like to show it the 4-year progression. And so in 9th and 10th grade, those are similar experiences where the students are working on 6 case experiences. 11th grade, they are doing case studies along with an entrepreneurial experience where they are creating a product or a service, and they have an expo day that some of you might have gone and seen. And then that 12th grade is really a capstone experience, and they call it a consultancy project where students are engaging with a local business throughout the entire school year. So, when you wrap that all together, really 17 local and national companies that the students are getting involved with in a deep level by the end of 12th grade. Pretty incredible. And so, why are we so interested in this model? Why did it pique our interest? Well, it was the outcomes. And this first slide here speaks to a lot of academic outcomes. That absenteeism decreasing while the graduation rates are increasing. And then, obviously important as always is that math and reading proficiencies, college enrollment increasing as well. And then that last one in the bottom corner, competency mastery, going back to those 6 foundational competencies that the students are working on. And as a former teacher, this slide is always really important to me too. This is more about climate and culture. So students are feeling like they have a sense of belonging. They want to be there. They are feeling supported. Students and also teachers. So teachers have, a support system around them, and, feeling like, hey, we're in this together, and this is something that we all are on the same boat with. With that, I will toss it back to Ryan. He's going to talk a little bit about, what all makes this work together.
Yeah, and, get those outcomes. Obviously, that's something we'd love to see, and what we've discovered as we've been researching this ourselves and observing other JA areas do it. There's really been these last 8 years since the model was launched has really been about establishing fidelity of the model. What does it take to kind of get these repeatable results, no matter kind of what school district they're going into. And so one of the things that makes this model unique is all of the support and services that does come with this high school instructional model to the teachers, to the administration, to really sustain it. You could launch something great, but how do you make it work year 2, 3, 4, and beyond, and kind of see those repeatable results? So this slide here is just communicate some of those things that come with it as part of that investment in the model. There is an annual cost of about a little over $200,000, $206,000 there you can see. And, the good thing about that there is, like I say, there are actually hires that come with this. So there'll actually be local people that will be hired to help run and support the 3DE model at the high school level. And then certainly all the training, the development, the curriculum development, the business recruitment, all of that stuff is part of that. And, in the end, it definitely takes a team. And so, as Shannon said, collaboration is obviously important in this as well. And, in going through due diligence with the Marshalltown district team, it's really about, establishing some leaders at that district level. And then as you go into a readiness year, which would be proposed for this coming semester, who else from the high school, do you get involved, get them trained on the model so you get them ready to launch and that following fall. But, obviously myself and Shannon will be very involved. We will be hiring, like I said, 2 individuals, a 3D director that will be here every day at the high school level, really that point person on the ground, as well as a case experience coordinator. Really those 2 positions, you think of the 3D director, they kind of connect the dots, bring all the different audiences together. And then that case experience coordinator is really that teacher kind of champion to help make those case experiences meaningful and smooth and make kind of sure that the train stays on the track and on time and all those things. And then the other unique thing I think is that there's a national 3DE team that's really that curriculum and development team. that once we recruit the businesses, they help write and design the case experience that the students and the teachers go through. Those cases are 5 weeks at a time. So again, a lot goes with it, but certainly a team effort there to make it successful. And like I alluded to on the cost, the really great opportunity Marshalltown has in front of them here is, if the decision is made to launch in the fall of 2025, that first entire year is covered from a cost perspective. I've been working hard, as Dr. Schutte knows, over the last nearly 2 years now to identify some lead funding to help us get this launched here in central Iowa. And being the first, it can be seen as a risk, but hopefully we would like to see it as an honor too, to kind of lead the way. And I think Marshalltown's certainly in a position to do that. But even with that being said, that's something we wanted to make possible of to get that first year covered. And then if you take a look at year 2 and beyond, there's several other JAs that have found and partnered with the school district, work-based learning grants, company sponsorships, things like that have really brought the cost down even further, to kind of help sustain it as you go. But you kind of see a per student breakdown there, and you can imagine the more students that are involved in that, even the lower that cost gets per student. That's kind of modeling out at about 150 students, which is kind of the recommended minimum per cohort to get it going. But if you can see it be a whole grade, you can see that dropping even significantly more. And then just a couple more here to round out is, Marshalltown High School would be the 61st school. There are 60 schools around the country that have launched this model. So again, definitely proof of concept. This is year 8 of the model. And just this past fall, a couple Iowa districts you can see have launched 3DE. And I know just last week, some of the high school team was able to go visit them and Albernet and college community there. And so obviously kind of a built-in peer network, which is great, not only here in Iowa, but around the country. Again, alluded to the beginning, we visited, went on several visits to the open houses around in the other cities, some of you see there. So again, great built-in kind of national network, but also a local support, kind of the best of the both worlds there, hopefully you see. And just kind of rounded out here is the roadmap. And, taking on a new instructional model like this, you obviously want to do your due diligence, and I will just say Marshalltown has done that in spades. I think really prepared. The team there with Shauna and Brad and Justin and obviously Dr. Schutte and the board members have visited, Jen, have really been deeply involved and kind of done their homework on it to learn, to make sure this would be right for Marshalltown. And so Shannon and I feel really good about that I think there's great preparation underway that's already been done. But you can kind of see there is still a planning and readiness period to go through, which would kick off this starting semester, next semester here in January. And you can kind of see some of the check marks there. And some of those things such as like the master schedule at the high school, obviously, how do you figure that out and make that go? But again, all those supports are built in and it's been done over 60 times at 60 different schools. So the 3D national team's seen it all by this point in time. And so really confident we come up with a good plan there that would work at the high school setting here in Marshalltown. With that, we want to certainly be respectful of time, but would field any questions anyone had.
Would this just be implemented just for 9th grade if it got approved, or would it be for all grades starting next year?
Correct there, Mr. Wall. It would be just for 9th grade. So start year 1 would be 9th grade. And the way that the team's been looking at it is probably starting at just call it a school within a school. So, 400 9th graders, for example, maybe 150 of them would be part of this model. There would always be the opportunity to go full grade in the future, and we've seen a lot of the other JA schools that have done it, the school districts that are doing 3D. They might start kind of cohort or school within a school and then go full grade, maybe year 3 or 4 type of thing. Then year 2 would be 9th and 10th grade, year 3 add 11th, and so then by year 4 you'd have each grade level on the 3D model. Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if this is a question for Brad or Theron or Shauna. So how many students how many students would we be targeting for the first year? And how would that school within a school structure kind of work? Just, I think there are some folks who haven't been to any JA schools. Is there?
Well, I can tell you that we'd be targeting somewhere probably between 125 and 150 students, as Ryan said, and we would be dedicating the appropriate FTE staffing of teachers to accommodate pulling 125 and 150 kids out of the regular mainstream in order to accommodate these cohorts. As you know, we've been making trips to schools in Georgia, Kansas, Indiana, Cedar Rapids, Prairie to see different models. Most of them, I think, have been school within a school models, and there's other school within a school models for other things. So it's not a foreign concept, but it will require some thoughtful scheduling. And, the goal, of course, will be to schedule in such a way as we've heard, for example, Latha did, where it doesn't prohibit kids from taking other things that they want, whether it be dual credit, AP, honors, music, whatever. It may not that they don't get everything they want, and today they don't get everything they want necessarily, depending on what the demand is at the time they want it, but there'll be a lot of work in that arena. We've also been extremely purposeful in identifying and inviting teachers who we think initially would be good fits for this model. So we've been getting them out for the freshman year. So we've been getting them out to see it. And, if the board gives us approval to move forward with this, we'll be working hard to get all Marshtown High School teachers up to speed and educated so that hopefully as things start developing, we build more capacity and readiness for taking on that second year, that third year, that fourth year. I'll be honest, we kind of stepped back a little bit when the whole administrative team changed out at the high school between spring and fall, but Jackie's still here, and she was a big part of that research. So they know they can lean on her for help and assistance and guidance and support too. So
I have a question. So in the other schools that are doing this, do they have like a wing dedicated to that JA area, or is it kind of they have just different classrooms throughout the school?
Sometimes you'll see a wing, but I think the only thing that's really asked is to have like a dedicated team room that those teachers can collaborate in. Because that's the other thing that's built in as part of this model. There's a built-in kind of PLC that occurs between those 3DE teachers. So it's good to have that space, that they could collaborate in. And sometimes you bring some students in for small group work and stuff like that too. But really, it happens within the normal classroom. It's cross-curricular. It's really about the way the content is being taught and then tying it back to that one case that all the students are working on that 5-week period. And so you'll have a case that they'll address in science, math, social studies, even music, whatever that elective may be, and they're all kind of connecting it back to that business case. And that's a big part of the kind of the secret sauce that, again, kind of, makes the relevant piece come alive. Like, why are we learning this? Oh, we just talked about this in math. Now we're talking about, language arts or whatever it may be. So it's really it's not necessarily where it takes place, it's how the instruction is done and kind of the methodology that way.
And JA really helps pull all of that together so that, right, with resources so that the teachers aren't recreating all of that themselves.
Absolutely.
They're tying the case to the core curriculum with examples for the teachers in those core classes.
Yeah, when we visited classrooms, honestly, most of them didn't look any different than the classrooms that we have today because they're still teaching their standards, but they're incorporating as many of those standards into interdisciplinary wise between the 4 core disciplines. They're tying them together through these case studies, so there's collaboration ahead of time to try to identify who can do what and, make sure everything gets covered. And then there's also a launch class, and so we would need to figure out, that's usually more of an elective type course, like business, for example, is pretty common. So we would still need to figure out where and how that would happen, but.
And that's where they would form their teams out of that launch class. The students would form the teams for the case out of that launch class typically, right? Yeah.
Shawnee, you want to talk about, because as Ryan said, when this financial incentive came forward not too long ago, that kind of ramped up things a little bit. So Shauna took advantage of a recent Gear Up meeting that they had for 8th graders. And maybe you can talk a little bit about very preliminary interest that we've seen.
And I think maybe the same link, like the video that we shared with our 8th graders, is attached to the board agenda. So if you guys want to take a look, you can after. But all of the 8th graders were able to see like a little 3-minute video of what 3DE is. And then they took a Google survey and just indicated, yes, I'm interested, no, I'm not interested, or maybe. And we had a great response. I think about 100 said yes, about 100 said no, and then about 20 to 25 said maybe. That kind of gave us a good idea of who would be great to like continue pushing and recruiting in to give them more information, contact parents. And then at the Gear Up night, we had just a line of parents. It was a great turnout. And as they're in line, Ellie Harris Medina and I were just working through every single set of parents to explain what 3DE is and giving them more. So their eyes would light up. We'd be like, do you like sitting in class with a textbook, or would you rather like work together with peers and solve problems? And of course, a lot of them answered, I'd rather work with my peers and solve problems. So then we kind of explained, well, that's what this is. It's just you get to work for maybe a Fortune 500 company and get to help them solve their problems too. So parents were impressed too, and I think they have a lot more questions, probably like you guys do, but we're fortunate to have some experts that we can lean on for answering those questions. And then, of course, there's like 60 other schools that have already worked through them. So we're very excited. I actually just came from a meeting at the high school where we pulled the team together that got to go on December 10th to just kind of think through, what'd you see? How could this work? And Justin started off the conversation with just saying, while he was there, he was interviewing student after student after student after student. And he said every single one of them had something positive to say. And they are adding 30 more students that semester because so many kids want in. So I'd say that's a success. And it's really the students recruiting other students to come do it. It's not even the school anymore because they're all talking about it amongst each other.
I think it's college community school districts historically been a very highly looked at district for progressiveness, innovation, partnership with Kirkwood, that sort of thing. And so to have a partner essentially an hour away that we can lean on that's already gone through the first year will be instrumental. And I know Superintendent Wheeler and his team have committed to do that if we decide to sign on.
I really like the perspective that you brought, and I'm curious with Leah and maybe somebody else, about the real world, what these kids, what we're teaching them, but just the success rate while we're here to get them graduated, to improve their scores, improve their attendance. Can any of the board members elaborate more about what you saw when you did visit the other schools?
I know when I went, we went to Atlanta. It was pretty neat because we were there the day of their marketplace. So students had built like a little business for themselves, and they were administrating like the money. They were doing the customer service. They were doing the work, and they were able to explain what they did to get to that point. And it involved the whole school in that school. Because during their free periods, during their lunchtime, teachers and students were able to come in and purchase some of those items that they were selling. So it was pretty neat to see. Another one that we talked about during our meeting was a group of students working with Waffle House and what their needs were. And that group actually created an app to survey the customers what the expectation was for that restaurant. And it really helped the restaurant apparently on their customer service and just service to the community itself. So, I mean, I saw the businesses aspect, the reach out, and then I saw the development of their own business in action. So it was pretty neat.
For me, when I went to Olathe, I really liked how when you went into those classrooms, you couldn't even really tell a difference because all the content that was there, it was the same content. It was just more hands-on activities. And I was really amazed how everybody was actually working together. Normally, as we know, as we've job shadowed different classes, you have a group that are, really working together, and then you have the ones that are just in a corner, really don't want to participate. But that day, all of them, every classroom that I went, they were all working together as a team. And even like math class, if they're talking about like right angle, acute angles and stuff like that, they have like using different spaghettis, different like hands-on activities to make it, for them to better understand it. And then what I also really enjoyed is when the students were talking about their experience, it was really impactful to see how professional those students were. And also you can tell how their presentation skills were amazing. And it's like, that's what we want for Marshalltown. That's what we want our future Bobcats to be. Right now, they have a lot of classes that they're already getting those hands-on work-based learning opportunities. But I think that this will enhance everything that our teachers are already doing to make even, a better Bobcats. And also, as we, move forward, we hear a lot of work-based learning opportunities. And a lot of businesses are looking into doing more work-based learning opportunities. As part of my job, when I work with businesses, I have seen that increase of more businesses wanting to do more work-based opportunities, internships, registered apprenticeships, and a lot of this, it's like they go hand in hand. But yeah, so thank you for all the great work, and it was great to see those students, and it's like I want those to be our Bobcats. I want those students to represent Marshalltown Community School District as well.
I think for me, I went to Fort Wayne, Indiana, and it was there was a lot more pride in the school and a lot more community within those cohorts. Like the kids in that launch class, they want someone from their class to win, right? So it created kind of this support system within those classes. So I saw a lot more pride in the school, this like friendly competition between the different cohorts. All of the students show up for each other and cheer each other on kind of mentality. They talked a lot about how in each of their teams within that cohort, like there's maybe a group of 4 to 5 kids that are on a team for that case, and within their launch classroom, they form those teams, and there's a different team and a different leader for each case. So they have to develop leadership skills and be able to leverage the strengths of each individual on that team to be able to put forward their best foot for that presentation as well, and kind of learn some of that skill set. They talked a lot about like positive peer pressure, kind of you've got to come because you have to present this thing, you have to learn this thing. And so they just really had to work together. And then, they said their level of confidence increased, just lots of things that we want to see in our kids. And then you see the stats from the schools that have implemented, and you're like, okay, why would we not try this, right? Like, if that's really the results, then what would stop us from trying to pursue those types of results?
Including that attendance, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Including that attendance, there were students talking about that they have something to look for and to go to school the next day because they have to work on their case study or they have to, work with their peer or, they want to recruit others as well. And so that was really cool.
One thing I heard as well, it was the collaboration with the classroom teachers.
Mm-hmm.
So that was very positive, which is equally important, for students to be there, but for teachers to be collaborating with these mentors or director, whoever gets hired for this position.
You know what you're looking for, Zach?
Not what I needed.
Are there other questions, comments?
Anything from the high school that you want to share?
So I will piggyback.
Oh, come up and use the microphone, Justin. Or Brad, I don't care.
So along with just asking all the students about, their experiences and listen to how excited they were to work together, to be the first to do that. We also had a staff member, while we were at the big showcase at the end, just sat down with a parent and just happened to ask the parent, like, hey, what do you think of all this? The parent was ecstatic. The parent looked at our counselor and said, my kid never has come home and talked about school. It's always been what happened at school, nothing, and off they went. So they've been sitting, they've been talking about the case studies they've been involved in, they've been talking about the different things they're doing in class. And this parent had told one of our counselors, it has completely changed their kids' experience in high school. And that particular person right then was just hopeful, like, this is for my kid. If this happens at Marshalltown, there's just no question about it.
I think two things that I'd like to say. The first is to see those kids present last week at Prairie High School. This is their third case, and being an English teacher, having kids get up and give speeches, you could see that they had grown throughout that, and that was neat to see them. And I think part of that is that they were talking to business people, right? It's one thing for me as an English teacher to have kids give it up and give a speech. That's kind of schoolish, right, in class. But here, there's a real world sort of application as they're talking to those business folks. And there's a great story out of that too. There was there were 4 groups of 4, but one group only had 3. And one of the kids in his 14-year-old sort of edginess said, they were asked a question at the end about what struggles did they have, and his 14-year-old said, well, one of our classmates was expelled, and so we had to pick up the slack for them, right? So there's another piece of real world experience, right? Like that happens to folks in the business world, happens to folks in education, right? When our colleagues aren't there, we have to pick up for them, and so a great lesson for the kid.
I guess one thing that I did read and that I didn't know, or maybe I did when it was presented when I was there, but there's no GPA minimum requirement, so pretty much anybody would be eligible that wants to sign up. I mean, unless there's a cutoff, obviously, but.
Yeah, the goal of the cohorts is to really mirror the district. So again, no academic requirements to be in the cohort, just as long as there's a good representation of the Marshalltown population.
Nice. That's pretty nice, because I just came out of a meeting where we talked about some of these opportunities are not offered to those students that are not meeting the educational requirements. And because of that, they start falling through the cracks even more. So when things are being offered as early as 9th grade, that could boost their, ability to raise that GPA, or even think of things that they want to do that doesn't require a 4-year degree, that requires, minimum education for that. So great pathway.
Well, and there's a high probability that there'll be more desire to want to be in this program than what we're going to be able to accommodate. And so there will definitely be some high expectations for those students that enter into this program, so that if it doesn't work, we can get kids that really want to be in there. But the goal is to have the demographic profile of this cohort mirror our school demographic.
Any other questions, comments? Okay. Then we need a motion to approve the memorandum of agreement and the data sharing agreement with Junior Achievement of Central Iowa as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Wall, Morales, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, say no. Motion carries 6-0. Got a lot of work to do.
Thank you very much for
Thank
having us.
you.
Appreciate your support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Amber, are you part of this, the Student Senate? Okay. Okay.
You guys have been very patient.
Very patient.
All right, hello guys. So we're some students from the Marshalltown High School, and we're a part of the Student Senate. And our Student Senate is partnering with the Embrace the Lead to start an idea that we call Bobcat Boutique. And so we're just going to start out with some introductions. My name's Zoe Weidenar.
My name's Giselle Hernandez Gonzalez. I'm also a senior class secretary.
My name is Alina Santana.
My name is Osmar Castro. I'm the senior class vice president of Student Senate.
My name is Kenia Reyes.
We'll allow Kenya to go first.
Hello, my name is Kenia Reyes. I represent ELL students. Mr. Santana got me involved in the Student Senate and El Éxito. I had the job of organizing ELL students for the parade, homecoming dance, and the new display. When I realized that many students didn't have the way to buy clothes, it was very sad. And I made a comment to Mr. Santana, we need to do something. And it was part of the idea, and thanks to Mrs. Santana, this idea was born. And we are also grateful that the doors continue to open for newcomers. So, thank you.
So piggybacking off of what Kenya just said, we see a lot of need in the community for different resources and different things. And one of these resources is business attire and formal attire. And so we observed at our last dance, our last homecoming dance, some students don't have the luxury of being able to participate in some of these school dances and school spirit events because they aren't able to buy the formal attire because of just the expense. It's expensive. And so additionally, what we want to do is just cover some of that need, and then also we wanted to cover the need for business attire for students pursuing job interviews, because that's another big thing is being able to present yourself well at a job interview. So we wanted to just give students some of that opportunity to go not only participate in school spirit things, but also go have the presentable attire for job interviews.
So then our mission out of all of this is to basically provide students in need of formal attire and professional clothing, with all the clothing being at no cost. That is what we're hoping for.
For the lending part, the Bobcat Boutique will allow students to check out various items such as dressy shirts and pants, shoes, and we also have accessories if they are willing to customize themselves. So by lending these items, current students and future students have the opportunity to borrow them if they want to get dressed up for other events that aren't like school related, such as the homecoming events. So they can like use them for job interviews or any business attire.
So our team we're partnering with the Arts and Culture Alliance, and under Embrace the Lead, we have $2,500 in funds supporting this Bobcat Boutique. We also have our personal shoppers, which are volunteers of Student Senate, which will be assisting students in need and like, oh, what business attire do you need? What color do you need? Those assistants. We also have appointment managers, also volunteers of Student Senate, and they'll just be managing the appointments through a QR code that we'll talk on later. We also are reaching out to local store and businesses to see if they're willing to donate any formal attires they used to have, any like bridal dresses they used to have. Our promoters will be hanging around posters around the school, but also posting on our social media on Facebook and Instagram. Shoulders and catalogers, also volunteers of Student Senate, will take in any donation and catalog them. We'll also have the support of the Student Senate advisors like Senora and Senor Santana and Ms. Ewing. And we also have the support of the MHS admin.
All right, so how students can kind of like take the opportunity of doing this is we're gonna have posters set up around our school building that will have QR codes, and when the students scan the QR code, it will give them a Google Doc, and they can sign up to make an appointment to go through the boutique and pick out like, the shirt, the pants, the tie, accessories. And then in the QR codes Google form, they can also specify what specific items they need in case we can like reserve it for them.
Our long-term goals is to be as sustainable over time. As we enter this new world of fast fashion, we buy something off Shein or Temu and it rips and it doesn't last as long. So with this, we'll maintain these outfits for longer use and many use. We also want to meet the continuous need of students. As I said, we want to have a clothing spectrum available to us, all students, and to whatever their needs. Like, it's not just limited to prom and homecoming, but to interviews or say, there's like, I know for IJAG, they have conferences, so they'll dress nice so they can have a use at this. We also like to extend it to the Miller Middle School, to their own formal events. And we'd like to connect to the fashions department and the high school so that they can learn how to hem something temporarily. As I said, we want this to be sustainable, so we don't want to cut them. We want students to learn how to hem certain clothing so that if it's temporarily and once it's finished, they can cut the threads loose and it's ready to be worn again. Yeah, but we'd like a smooth transition so that once we, as Giselle and I, we're both seniors, as we transition out to college, we want this service project to last, and so that other student senate members can have an easy grip on it and know how to run it.
So overall, we feel that embracing the lead shows leadership through serving the needs of our peers and by helping others in our community. Because the Bobcat Boutique will almost be completely student-led, we are taking action when we see a need within our community and school. Being service-minded and supporting students is taking the initiative to help others. We embrace the lead by developing our leadership skills, focusing on teamwork, and sharing responsibility, and by showing others how to take action to help others. Embracing the lead also means ensuring everyone feels supported. We want to promote this by helping others through small actions that change our focus to bigger picture.
Everyone deserves the opportunity to have access to the resources they need, and we should find a way. The project embraces the lead because it allows more students to participate in special school events and experiencing success when attending, like a job interview with the items that we can provide for them. We feel embracing the lead with this is like giving them a helping hand to our classmates. And as we run like through the boutique with this and people donate items, these resources are like helping a lot of students be able to like have all the materials that they should be having and the support that we should be giving them as a school and as a community as we evaluate this to like Miller and Linehan. We feel we can embrace the lead by supporting others through tough times and grow as we do so at MHS.
Thank you.
So have you guys identified where this boutique will be or where you're going to house these clothes?
So we had kind of like the idea that we would use some of the empty space in the theater department in our building to store the items. We're going to get a big like storage closet kind of, and then we're going to so I also assume that those appointments will take place kind of in that area at our school, and we'll have like a designated day where students can go and walk through the boutique and pick up their items. Yeah.
Then will you have like a return policy, number of days or something like that for returning and cleaning of items?
So for the cleaning stuff, we have like a department in our MHS building where like we have washing machines and dryers so we can clean and dry the sports equipment and jerseys and stuff.
Adding on to that, you mentioned like the checking them out. So we have a system where they'd check it out and then check it back in once they're done with that. And it really like depends on the event, but we would set like kind of a due date for them to check it back in.
How are you going to get the community to help donate towards the cause?
So as mentioned, we'll be promoting it on social media. So I know pretty much most adults are connected through Facebook. And so we'll promote it like we're accepting donations, or we'll reach out to these local businesses by phone call and ask for their donations.
We are hoping, well, some of the seniors, in my opinion, I'm hoping to just leave on like prom dresses and homecoming, because in reality, I'm never gonna wear them again. And some people do spend crazy amount of money on them, so you would assume that you'd keep wanting it to be used. So we're hoping that some kids feel the same and they leave it and they let other kids use them as well. So that would be some part of donations.
My inner self's laughing right now, and the reason why is when you say you're not going to wear that prom dress again. About a month ago, I was going through our storage room. Here's my prom outfit. And my wife says, "You got to get rid of that." I said, "No, there could be a chance. Maybe I'll fit into it someday." And now I could go home and say, I should have kept it. We had a cause. So, but, yeah.
Where can donations be made? Or to who? I have lots of dresses that I've been to weddings and quinceañeras and other events that I'm not going to ever wear again.
Yeah. I believe if you go into our high school's main office, they can collect it, or they'll put you in touch with our staff sponsor, Mrs. Santana, who will collect it. Yeah.
Okay. And then just one more comment. If you ever need any assistance with any like mock interviews, let me know, and then I can help prepare those students. With Iowa Workforce Development, we help individuals also with mock interviews. So maybe that's one thing that you can add to it if somebody wants to have a job interview and they want to practice. And I'm sure there's some staff available at the schools that can help with that, but in case they're busy, just know that that's another resource as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's a fun idea.
Nice job.
Good job.
Really.
Well, thank you very much, guys.
All right.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
adding one quick thing per Abby. Just to connect the dots for all of you, this is tied going back to the Arts and Culture Master Plan for the City of Marshalltown, which one of the 5 themes was elevating youth, which then spurred the Embrace the Lead campaign. And this really was a way for us to activate Elevate Youth, which says, how can we bring youth to the table, bring them into leadership circles, and really amplify their voices and their ideas and see what kind of creative innovation they can come up with. So this is a result of Akwi Inji, who was the artist who spearheaded Embrace the Lead, actually came back and did a workshop with the students in September at the Arts and Civic Center. I know a couple of you were able to attend, and they were able to kind of go through what does Embrace the Lead mean to them and how could they activate that. So this is a result of that. So.
And just one little conversation between Amber and myself of how do we take Embrace the Lead to the next level and really amplify our students' voices, their ideas, their own experiences. So all of this, we really wanted to make sure this is student-led, student-driven, their own idea.
Pretty cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Please don't put prom dresses in the towel washing machine in high school. Yeah. Maybe some adult intervention.
I'm just thinking I can help them sew. Hem stuff. Hello, I'm Jules McGrew. I'm fortunate to be one of the culinary instructors at the high school. I'm here to just talk a little bit about the Bobcat Cafe. We are really excited that this will be starting on February 3rd at the Orpheum. A lot has led up to this moment, and we're just really excited for the culinary to be a part of that. But it's not just for culinary students. It's someone that has gone through the culinary program with Foods One and financial literacy. That's the prereq for this. And then they can get work-based learning by going up to the cafe to get real-world skills through working in our community. Yeah, the program is structured for the second semester. A lot of it is with our Foods 3 students that have the opportunity to do practicums through MCC. So in the morning, we have about 8 students from the Foods 3 program going up there and working. These students will be handling customer service, barista tasks, and day-to-day operations. In the afternoon, I have another group because we have 2 MCC programs, an AM and a PM. The PM will be staying in our new culinary industrial space and making all the baked goods for the cafe in the morning. This semester, we've really done a lot of work for student preparation. They have done recipe development, which has been really, really fun for them to try out new recipes and get them out into the school. And we have a Google form connected to that, so anyone that has tried a muffin can go onto that Google form and give honest feedback, whether it's did they like the taste, do they like the size, do they like the texture, what price point would they be willing to spend for that product, along with what type of hot and cold drinks and other baked goods that they might want. So a little bit of marketing within that. Students have had a full course on the HACCP requirements, learning to implement food safety patrols for the cafe production. We are really excited. The majority of all of our students have passed the Surf Safe certification this week, so we're so excited for that. So they are gaining industry recognizing food safety credentials. And something that's been really popular this semester with our students is gaining some skills with event planning and catering around our community. We've had one in October, November, and December. So October was with the resource fair at Rogers, and students did a full spread there. We did another catering event for the cultural committee gathering after the November board meeting at the Orpheum. And then last week, students did one outside the district for the chamber night at Pinnacle Bank. So
That's just, they have such pride in doing that. And so having the community support us in that way makes us really confident that we will have a lot of support with the cafe as well. Impact on our community. The Bobcat Cafe is more than a learning experience. It's an opportunity to bring our classroom skills to life when serving the Marshalltown community. Students will develop teamwork and management and problem-solving skills, preparing them for careers in the culinary and hospitality fields. We are excited to see this program foster student growth and community engagement. Yeah. I'm just so excited. I can really talk about this all night. So I kind of kept it to a little bubble. Just really excited for students to take what they're learning in the classroom and then applying it out into our community.
How many students are we talking about?
We'll have, well, something that I didn't put in there that we are also really excited about, we'll have about 8 in the morning. That's for our first block, early morning and first block. And then second block, 10:30 to closing, which will be around 11:30, we'll have the special education department come. Their program during the summer was such a success that we definitely wanted to implement that for our students. And I believe that's going to be about 5 students per day.
Okay.
So I think that's going to be on a rotation Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Tuesday and Thursday. So, and then in the afternoon, we can't skip that part of the production of making the baked goods in our classroom. And that, I have 9 in that program. So, and it's all work-based learning, so, yeah.
Pretty neat. I love the name.
Bobcat Cafe.
So cool.
And I just want to say, this wasn't this year. So this was thought of by Mrs. Wyant and the district. There's been lots of work. It didn't just show up this year and say, hey, we're doing this thing. A lot of the district folks, Lynn Large, Mr. Denham, have been pitching in and, how does this work? How do we make this legal? Food service stuff. I mean, it's just, I've just sat on and listened to you. She's done such a great job. I'm very confident. Been pretty hands-off, so I'm super excited for this to hopefully get approval and move forward. So I'm excited for our district and our kids.
Yeah. I assume we're going to promote this with downtown businesses pretty heavily. And yeah. Okay. Good. Yeah, I'm putting students on the spot. They're going into these businesses and they have to promote themselves. Yeah. So that's a big part of marketing and yeah.
It's already been approved, so the train's left that station.
It's already going.
Just I don't ever want to assume. I was hopeful.
What would the hours be? You said a closing was 11:30, right? So the starting.
We're going to do 7:30 to 11:30, and then a half hour for cleanup, so that they know that that's a big process of business as well, and then so that they can be back for their lunchtime.
Very cool.
Anything else?
I think we need to do a work study at this place.
Absolutely.
Can we go do that first day?
Well, we would love to have the board come in the afternoon and bake with us and try our goods and yeah.
Just the board?
Anyone who would love to come. And of course, come and see us at the Orpheum for the Bobcat Cafe and support the students in that way. That would be amazing for the community to do that.
For the event planning, what are some, I know you do like cookies, brownies, is there what else could you guys bake?
Like what have they done?
Yeah, what
so
have
far?
they done? Yeah.
So for Rogers, they made Korean barbecue chicken, mac and cheese. They did the mock Texas Roadhouse rolls. They really wanted to learn that with the whipped butter. Salads, cookies. Yep. And then for the gathering at the Orpheum for the cultural committee, they wanted to really play off of different flavors that community might really love. So we made chicken piccata, which is a lemon caper chicken, stuffed shells, garlic knots, and a salad. And then it was during the Thanksgiving time, so they made pumpkin pie. And then for the Pinnacle Bank, they made, we have this really awesome machine in our kitchen. It's called an Altasham, and they did a 24-hour cook time on pork butts, and they made pork sliders. They made stuffed mushrooms, a spicy jelly meatball, corn dip, and spinach dip.
Wow.
Nice.
So, and it's all in their hands. I think with
Okay.
the Pinnacle, they had an idea of what they wanted, and then they gave us a little bit of freedom, creativity to make a menu there. And then the other two, they said whatever we wanted to make. And I think when you give students that type of opportunity, and of students with all different backgrounds, that collaboration meeting is so fun. And, oh, I had this at one restaurant and I really loved it, and how do we make that? And I just come with a skill that I can say, no, you guys can make anything. And if we don't know how to make it, let's learn how to make it and implement it for the customer. So it's been really fun to see them be really creative in that way. So I don't think anything is really off the table, as long as whoever we're catering for gives us a budget, because students go off of that as well and create the budget that way, and the grocery list and all that.
Thank you.
And make
That
sure
helped.
that it's all together.
Yeah, because first I was thinking it was just cafe, like morning stuff, but I didn't realize that for these catering events, it can be catered whatever the client wants.
Yeah, absolutely. And with the MCC coursework, we have knife skills, food basics, and food fundamentals. So they're learning how to pair spices together and how to debone chicken and disassemble full-on chicken and different types of meats. We got a really great grant from the Iowa beef producers, so they're learning how to cut through beef. So yeah, it's really cool what these kids can do and what they'll take from this coursework. So.
Nice, thank you.
And it makes the school smell really good.
You get to try the food
I
sometimes.
passed through that hallway.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Justin, I just realized that's a Christmas sweater.
Yes, it is.
Nice. Very nice.
Jen?
It's a Bobcat Christmas sweater. It's cool. Okay, now I'm going to let you go.
All right. Good evening. Every single year when we adopt a curriculum, we come back a year later and we share with you the progress of the implementation. And Jen had a science teacher lined up to be with us tonight, and unfortunately the marathon meeting got the best of us here, so he had to leave.
He had to go home
but
to
Jen,
kids.
yes, I'm sure you can share his perspective.
Yeah, I'll do my best.
Jen's done such an incredible job with it's Activate Learning. It's our middle school science, 7th and 8th grade. They've already been at it for a year.
Yeah, so back in 2023, thanks to you all, we approved Open SciEd through Activate Learning for our 7th and 8th grade science curriculum. Some key components that we looked for when we were going through the adoption process was ensuring that it was aligned to standards, and this definitely is. It's highly aligned to the science and engineering practices, but it also circles back with the academic content as well. Kai mentioned that it's really great to see kids kind of grappling with the science hands-on, but yet having those kind of challenging academic conversations as well. This curriculum came with online simulations as well as hands-on labs, so they get to do a hybrid of different things in the science classroom. So that's been really great to have those options, and also for kids to experience both of those kind of situations. And then it's inquiry based. So it starts with driving questions. You could see those hanging up in many of the science classrooms. And then it's student exploration. So they're really diving into what that kind of looks like. One of the things that Kai mentioned is one of the phenomenon being super relatable was like, how do you keep a cup cold? And so they got to kind of explore, how do you keep a cup cold? and really talking through that within the science as well. So I mentioned that students get to work through online simulations. With those two, there's vocabulary support. The labs are challenging, yet providing opportunities for those great conversations with kids. So again, they're kind of grappling, but they're also collaborating and bouncing things off of each other. And again, that relatable, relevant phenomena that's connecting to the real world. One of the units they have coming up, there's a sick girl, so they're trying to figure out like what is the diagnosis, and so they're diving into what are the symptoms, what could that look like. Another unit they did, they were taking apart a speaker to see how it works. So it's the science of some very real world things. These are just a few photos that Kai snapped. He would be able to easily tell you what experiment this was, and I am not. I was fortunate enough to have Activate Learning also reach out and just kind of want to get a quote from us, ask, how are things going? And so one of the things that I went to the teachers, and a common theme that I heard from them is kids get to think and act like scientists, and they are doing the learning. We aren't standing up here, and directing everything that they do. They're really just diving in with those questions and doing some discovery on the way. Some additional benefits, that high-level thinking, you can imagine, as I already kind of talked about, the challenging questions and conversations they're having, and that being led with that real-world phenomena. Something that was really, really beneficial, and what our middle school science teachers hadn't had for a really long time, is this curriculum came with materials that are ready for them to use. So documents are ready, presentations are ready. Obviously, they can get in and edit those as they need to. There are videos. Also, they had a new staff member in 7th grade join them this year, and they talked about how it was just absolutely crucial that we had this material ready for them, because you could just dive right in and start without a lot of learning. There are lots of procedures and videos also to support teachers. So as they're looking at the different labs they might be doing or the different content that they're delivering, there's teacher support directly on the platform, so that helps inform them of what might be coming. And then another added bonus, which I think at the time that we purchased this, we did not know, it integrates with Canvas, which is what our middle school is diving into this year. So an unattended benefit that we got to capitalize on. Again, Kai would be very excited to share some of the things that he sees in the classroom with you, or some of the things that kids say. I think what he told, one of the notes I have from him that he said over and over is, this is really good at getting kids to explore, and that inquiry-based learning that's tied to real-world phenomena is just something that accelerates the conversations and the learning that's happening in the classroom.
Questions?
Yeah, any questions?
I guess another benefit is you talked about new teachers, but also for subs,
Yeah,
when
absolutely.
subs walk in.
Yep.
And there's a teacher absence.
Mm-hmm,
That helps.
absolutely. Good point. Trying to get you back up. Said it was going to be quick.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice PowerPoint.
Justin, you got some early graduates?
Thanks, sir, I do.
Awesome.
Hello, board.
Hello again.
Hi.
I am Justin Bolivar, interim principal at Marshalltown High School, and the list before you, I am recommending the following students for early graduation pending fulfillment of graduation requirements for the Marshalltown High School MLA and MVA students that you see there.
Juniors.
Questions?
The juniors graduating at the end of the year, they're graduating like now at semester, a year and a half early, or
At the
end of the school year?
Yes, at the end of this school year, the juniors will be graduating. Yep.
Okay. But the seniors are graduating at the end of semester now.
Yep, correct.
Do juniors graduating early get to participate in the graduation ceremony?
I have to double check, but I believe they'll have to wait to graduate with their senior class.
That one.
Oh,
she's the one.
So they'd have to, if they wanted to go through the ceremony, they have to come back a year later?
I did it 18 years ago.
Really?
I did. So 18 years ago when I graduated high school, I was a junior and I went with a separate class. So I didn't know any of my classmates.
So you did graduate.
But you went through the ceremony as yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not with my classmates, but with my original classmates.
Well, they're your classmates now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it probably makes sense for them to go through the ceremony in the year for which they graduate.
That would make sense, yes.
Mm-hmm.
I was just curious. Any other? Okay. Is there a motion to approve the Marshalltown High School 24-25 early graduates as presented and pending fulfillment of graduation requirements?
So moved.
Second.
Morales Hernandez, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries 6-0. Thanks, Justin.
Thank you.
That sounded like a long time ago. 18
Xander?
years ago.
Legay?
There are 30 kids on that list.
It's growing each time, isn't it?
Good afternoon, school board members.
You're really pushing it on the afternoon.
I think we're squarely in evening.
To start off the presentation, the MHS students had the opportunity to hear from a 2022 graduate, Rachel Smith, who is in her third year in the Family Consumer Science program at Iowa State University. Rachel spoke to all of the FCS classes and informed them about the wide range of human sciences majors offered at ISU. With this presentation, the students were able to gain valuable insights about the academic opportunities at ISU and have a better understanding of what they want to do in the future career paths.
Athletics-wise, we've been busy. Girls and boys wrestling have had a few meets over the past couple weeks. Girls wrestling unfortunately lost both of them. A few highlights though, Ava Kusro won both of her matches, along with Natalie Nicky, who won both of her matches. Big highlight for boys wrestling, they won against Ames, who was ranked 14th in their class. Had a few national ranked people, so that it's very big for them. Very proud of the boys and the girls for competing over the last couple weeks. To go off of that, boys basketball and girls basketball also had a few games. Boys basketball had a victory against Hoover, 65-50. We had 3 individuals with over double digits in points: Kyle Smith, Drake Gersima, and Jacob Hayes. Along with that, when the girls traveled, they also won 14-16. Sydney Capeu and Morgan Hildebrand, sorry. They also scored double digits.
As for the dance team, there were many achievements, starting with the Division I ratings. The Bobcats had Division I ratings in various categories, with second place overall in prompts and fourth place overall in the mix. Also, congratulations to Rachel Schiebel for placing second overall in her solo. Color Guard also had numerous achievements as well, with Division I rating and placing second overall, as well as finishing in Class 3 Color Guard. We are really proud of our Bobcats, and we can't wait to see how they will do in future events. Thank you. Any questions?
No.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Book study.
Any key things that stood out for people?
The Beast.
What was meant by the beast?
How to tame the beast, so like different things that we like let's say today, say, okay, I want to have a positive day at work, but then sometimes we have like the beast, whether it can be, something that makes that day not be so good. So whether it's, our thoughts that, we're failing, or it could be like that something went totally wrong. So we think about, having, taming the beast, meaning there's some things that we can handle and some things that we can't, some things we can't, but just ensuring that, we stay focused on what are those things that we want to accomplish. And, starting with those, top three things, and not, we can have our whole, checklist of things to do, but we all know that not always does it go as we plan. So, so for me, that kind of stood out, and learning to know, for me, what was that beast, and how I could, tame them down.
For that piece, I thought it was interesting, like, just when he is talking about the beast, it was much more a mindset. He's talking about, like, what's your perfect day look like versus a terrible day. And it's not necessarily that anything is different in the circumstances around you. It's all about how you're approaching, perceiving, reacting to those circumstances.
That made me think of, like, Zach's question to Franklin teachers, like, what would be a perfect day?
Mm-hmm.
So when you ask that, I'm like, oh, it could be a day with chaos, but it was better than what you usually have, or that could be their perfect day. So, or a drive through Center Street without lights, without a red light. That's like amazing to me sometimes. And he mentioned that, he mentioned that in the book. And like, that little thing can really make your day good. So, like Maria said, it's how you wake up sometimes and see your activities, perspectives, and stuff. I shared, like, I'm really into this book for some reason. I don't know why I'm relatable to it, but like things that I'm reading, like I share it with my kids. So like the purpose, the passion plus your superpower, and you take action. Like, that's something that I had a conversation with my kids about, because as they went through college, and my son's currently going through, the baby's going through college. So to me, it's like, this is what, what your purpose is, your action, what your superpower is. So, yeah, I'm really getting into this one.
Me too. I even shared some of, I had a meeting with my team at work, and I was sharing some of the things that I read that resonated, and saw myself into, both in personal perspective, but also, professional as well. So I made sure that I've been recommending this book a lot. It's been resonating a lot. Last time when we had we were going to go over our book study. So when Eric was going over, kind of his story, like, I already knew what he was going to say next, because I had remember when I was reading, he pretty much the whole presentation he summarized the book that I had read. So I already knew, like, when he was talking about different scenarios, like, in my head, I already knew. That's how into I'm in this book. And also the elements. I think it was it 7 elements that he talked about? I believe it was 7. I just had it here. And I've been looking at those almost on a daily basis. I think it was 7.
And I think those will be the chapters that we read.
Yeah, I'm excited about chapter 7 that we haven't read yet. There's no such thing as time management. So I'm interested to see what's going to happen, what he's going to talk about in that chapter.
Yeah, he's incorporated some great quotes throughout, and the one with the beast was, or one of them was, focus on what you have control of, and don't let those things that aren't within your control dictate how your day is going to be, your mindset, and that sort of thing. I think this side of the table is kind of holding up the team here.
We're just trying to keep things moving. Just keeping things moving.
Well, I'm excited that you guys are enjoying the book, and it'll be really fun when we get through with it, having an opportunity to Q&A with Eric, and then our team that's familiar with, or Sean and I at least, where he's going here with his most recent work and what he's going to unveil both in a book and presentation next year is really exciting too, and I think will be very beneficial not only for our people, but hopefully we'll figure out something with the community as well, or our parents. So, okay.
Anything else from anybody on chapters 3 through 6? How many do we want to read?
Something that I did, think about, and it's something that I talk about a lot, especially when I'm like talking to either a group or talking to students. It's about your passion, and that's something that I really talk about myself. Like things that I like to do, and it's something that I had to explain to my own parents and my own family when I ran for board. It's education is my passion. It's something I like to do. I don't need to get paid for it. It's something I want to do. And volunteering is where I started. So when I talk to groups or students about it, volunteer is something you like. Volunteer is something you have a passion for. Maybe that can lead your journey. So that's something that resonated with me.
I liked his carry your passion around like a backpack.
Yes.
Like that quote that he had in there where he's talking about don't always be talking about, well, someday when this happens, I'll do
Next
this.
year.
Like that whole,
Start today. What actions are you doing to get there?
Yeah.
Okay. How many chapters do we want to read for January?
Did I send that out?
Oh,
Yeah,
maybe you did.
he sent it out all.
I'll
Just
send a reminder.
read whatever you were previously.
Yes.
Generally, it's like around 30 pages.
Yeah.
I'm
7 through
traveling,
9.
so I might finish the book. I'm traveling.
know.
So I might spend hours in the airplane. Just
A
finish
month.
it.
Okay. Dr. Schutte.
Yeah, so last board meeting, we talked about a couple things in relationship to an agenda item. One was the creation of 2 positions from the one position that Matt is leaving. And then the other was some readjusting or structuring of the organizational chart. So at the board request, I separated those 2 things out. Really nothing has changed relative to the desire to create 2 positions out of the one that currently exists. One of those positions is basically special ed director, whose primary responsibilities would be special ed, 504s, and therapeutic classroom. We have advertised that position, anticipated position. It's had a lot of interest so far. The other position would be student services and equity. So all of the other things that are part of Matt's current position, at risk, oversight or facilitation of our district counselors, foster care, health, both physical as well as mental health, SEL, homeless, and our school resource specialists, social workers would be under that position, and attendance as well. That might not be all inclusive, but that's quite a few things. So the recommendation, that would be Director of Student Services and Director of Special Education. I recommend to the board for approval so that we can formally start working on the replacements in those positions.
Questions? Then is there a motion to approve the 2 new positions of Special Education Director and Student Services Director as presented?
Move to approve.
Second.
Hernandez, Wall. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. That motion carries 6-0. How does that feel, Matt? It takes 2 people to replace you. Well, I think it feels pretty good. But to be honest with the board, originally there were 2 positions before all of you were here. I think Karina was probably here at that time, so it's nice to see that there will be 2 people overseeing that body of work.
And to Matt's credit, he never complained about it. Honestly, I mean, he was a great team player and took on a lot of additional responsibilities as things evolved over time. And, you know, we've just built that, especially the SEL piece, to where if we want to continue to move that forward in a big way, we really need people dedicated that can dedicate significant time to each of those arenas.
More focused.
So the next agenda item was your organizational chart, and as you remember, we had some really healthy discussion. There were some really good questions relative to what I had put before you. Provided a lot of reason for me to go back and reflect upon what it was that I really hoped to accomplish with what I was recommending to you, and I also went back and looked at what a lot of the other districts of our size and larger do, which is kind of a mixed bag. I mean, some of them have associate superintendents, some of them have assistant superintendents, some of them have deputy superintendents, and a lot of them actually have executive directors. And so the primary thing that we want to do is create better alignment of the work and the people in relationship to the work, and have, I think, a natural flow in terms of who to go to for these particular things. And I think it's fair for me to say that with a flattened hierarchy of directors, a lot of times, like if I'm not immediately available to make a decision and someone needs to make a decision, there's some confusion as to who it is we should next go to amongst my team as well as other people. And so the proposal I've got before you tonight simply shows that alignment under Randy as the Director of Finance and Operations, and it recommends adding to that title Executive Director, and the same with Shauna, Director of Instruction or Educational Services, adding simply the title Executive Director. The only changes in the principals are still under my direct supervision, K-12. The 2 new positions that you just approved would be aligned with Shauna and her team because their work is intricately connected to their team, particularly as curriculum development and implementation. And then the only difference on the operations side, as I said last time, was moving the relatively new position of safety and security supervisor, which Eric Whedon holds under Randy's area of operations.
Questions?
I don't have any.
You know, as I spoke with a number of you, I mean, a lot of times through those discussions, a better plan comes forward, and I really feel that's the case here. I really think it accomplishes what I initially hoped to set out for not only myself, but the team, and I think it puts us in a stronger position moving forward as we have some new people coming on board.
Yeah, I appreciated the conversation.
Yes.
Would you say, Dr. Schutte, just looking at the chart, that if there's questions that you can't answer, it's going to basically go to either Randy or Shauna?
Correct.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So the principals need help or whatever it is, you're not available, they can go to either one of them, correct?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, and they're going to make educated decisions based on what the topic is in terms of who might be better to go to. So, Shauna for money and no, I'm just kidding. Absolutely not. Spending money, yes. No. Just kidding.
I appreciate you taking the questions and even considerations from the board. And even reflecting right now that it helped you look at it in a better perspective. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, the org chart is technically a policy. So I think you're approving it's an amended policy. So it would be just like any other policy. It should come
We'll
back,
bring it
would
back.
technically would come back for a second reading.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or
So
you
nothing
could,
to
like
approve.
with any other policy, you could amend it and waive the second reading. So I guess that's,
I feel comfortable amending and waiving it. I mean, we've had discussion now,
Yeah,
Yeah,
but it's up to the board what they decide.
I agree.
I agree with
Wait.
okay.
waiving the second amendment.
Then is there a motion to amend the MCSD organizational chart policy 31004 as presented and waive the second reading?
So moved.
Second.
Wall Hernandez, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you.
Franklin Field.
So, as I think everybody probably can figure out, based on the large amount of construction projects we've been engaged in the recent past, there's been a lot of work going on in anticipation and hopes of getting us in a position of readiness to go out for bids late January, early February. So, got Adam Daters from Clapsaddle Garber and Pete Perez, who you know from Boyd Jones. And Adam's been doing the lion's share of the grinding on the Franklin Field project, so looking forward to having him provide us with an update.
Very good. Yeah. So a couple of things just to start us off here. So this is the first time we've been together, at least since I've been here after the election. So congratulations. What it shows is that your community understood the need and is very supportive of education and what education looks like here in Marshalltown. So congratulations to you all. It was a long effort for sure, but very well worth it. And part of what you'll see tonight is some of the results of all of that discussion and certainly all of the collaboration that's been going on. So starting out with Franklin Field, we've got Adam from CGA here and some of his colleagues, as well as Tom Wurzberger, who is also going to be involved with one of the structures that is at this facility. So before I turn it over to them, though, I love the sweaters. But congratulations again, and Adam, please take us away.
Sure, thank you very much. Again, Adam Daters with CGA. Again, thanks for having us here. We really appreciate it. Excited to kind of go through where we're at here on the Franklin Field project. Just a brief overview. I'll run through some slides, talk about the planning and design process to date, some unique challenges on the site, walk through some of the site design features and where we're currently sitting at in the process. And it looks like I have control here, so I'll flip through these. And stop me at any time if you guys want to jump in with any questions or comments. So just to kind of reorient everybody here a little bit, we're looking at Franklin Field from the northerly direction, looking north. We are definitely a little tightly squeezed in here with the current field, current facility, east on 13th Street, south on Main, west on 14th Street. We also have Brady Creek to the north there, and then obviously we have some residential kind of tucked right in there on that northeast corner. So our first step in the process here was to really just see, okay, what's going to fit out there. We essentially took the template we have at the high school, 8-lane track, 8-lane straightaway, standard 400-meter track where you can fit a football field, soccer field inside of it, and we put it on the site. It fits geometrically, but just barely. You can kind of see we're pushing right up against the west, the right of way there on 14th, right on that property corridor on those properties to the northeast, and really just off the right of way on 13th Street there. And as you can kind of see, or as you're aware, there's a lot of grade change there on 13th Street. We'll talk about that just a little bit later, touch on that. So the next thing we did is we said, okay, what's it look like if we reduce the size of the oval a little bit? So we went from 8-lane to 6-lane. Kept the straightaway in there at 8-lane. We kind of kept that point on 14th Street as our kind of fixed point. You can see it kind of pulls away a little bit from 13th Street, which helps us quite a bit with constructability. of a retaining wall, and it gives us a little more room there. Sorry, I'm pointing. I should use the cursor here. I apologize. It gives us a little more room here between the existing Franklin School and the straightaway. This is where we'll want to, try to tuck in some bleachers, some, press box, a building if we can get that in there. So quite a bit of help there. So after we went through those iterations, here's where we sat. We finalized the track and field design for the most part. And this is kind of where we land. I guess some key differences between what I showed you previously and here. All the design guidance has, minimums and recommended distances for for the run out, say on the straightaway. We did kind of squeeze those down to the minimum recommendation. It helps us out quite a bit, especially here on 14th. And then when we kind of start talking about this run out shoot on the straightaway, we do have to put that in there because we have a difference in the number of lanes between the straightaway and the oval. So a little bit of run out shoot there past that common finish line. And like I said, it does open up a little more room here. We kind of show kind of a placeholder for bleachers and a building, possibly, but we'll get into that a little bit later here as well. I'll run through some of the design constraints we have on this project. Along with Brady Creek to the north, we actually have some, a regulatory floodway. It really kind of acts as a bounding line that we really want to stay out of. We can cut in there with earthwork. We can usually install utilities, but we really want to stay out of there. We really want to avoid building any kind of obstructions within that floodway, or else we open ourselves up to a much higher level of design needed and permitting through the DNR. We also have a storm sewer pipe, a city storm sewer pipe running right through the middle of the site. City's been great to work with on this. They sent their crews out right away and cleaned it and televised it. Did their best to kind of see, where that's at. This right now is our best approximation. We're trying to get some potholing done out there so we can check depths, but we've talked to some people that have experience with the storm sewer line, and they say it gets very shallow as you head towards Main Street. After the televising, we've discovered that it's a few different kinds of material, actually. We got some concrete pipe on the north, some clay pipe right in the middle. Then it actually transitions to a really old style kind of brick arch pipe as you track further upstream towards Main Street there. So really the depth of the pipe and the material of the pipe, really kind of the two deciding factors in our recommendation to replace this with reinforced concrete pipe and to do a little bit of reorientation as well to make it better fit a little bit. We'll be talking with the city about that to see what that process looks like moving forward. Then of course, Franklin School, we really need to make sure that integrates well with the spectator area and the school use area that we still need to maintain on the north end there. One of the last ones we'll point out, again, that grade change there. We've got about a 13-foot grade difference between the roadway and the field elevation. So because of that grade difference, we'll have a retaining wall about 10 feet tall when you kind of factor in some of the room we still do have. Currently out there, that track is a little further away from the right of way, so you can kind of tell it's just graded down there with a very short retaining wall. Again, because trying to fit a standard track in there, we'll have to address that with a larger retaining wall structure. And again, accessibility, utilizing the ticket office entry the ticket booth entry, off of Main and 13th. We need to maintain ADA accessibility down to the site, so we kind of have a little red pathway shown there. It's a series of ramps and landings, handrails to get us down from the higher elevation in the corner there down to all the kind of the common use areas down at field level. And all of it's overlaid right here. Just brings into focus all the different design constraints. Again, not a lot of room. Our orientation's really fixed out here, but this is what we are working with. And then I think we'll move on to some of the site features here. So here we are, kind of a nice overhead view of what that field could look like. Fast forward to my notes to make sure I don't miss anything.
Essentially, we're flipping the colors from the high school.
I have one question.
Yes.
So currently Franklin Field has 2 playgrounds.
Yes.
I see one there. So are we just gonna just have one playground?
We've worked with Tim Holmgren since early on. The preschool playground, which is in the west beyond the west end zone is going to be moved up on the Main Street level, just east of the building in that fenced-in area. And so we've got work to do. Actually, that ground surface needs to be leveled out and work needs to be done there. And then the other one, I think we're hopeful will be in that southeast corner.
You beat me by one slide. So there you go. But you got it. Right now, we've got a space kind of reserved for relocating the existing playground. That's on the easterly side. We'll have a new pad for it. Like Dr. Schutte mentioned, we'll work with the playground manufacturer guys to relocate that here. And then, like you said as well, the preschool will be somewhere in this vicinity. That really hasn't been detailed out too much, but the goal is to retain that equipment as well.
We'll need to do new flooring, but the equipment itself will be able to be moved. We've been working with Mark Boland on that.
So kind of zoomed in here in the southeast corner, existing ticket booth here at the street corner. Again, this ADA route getting down to the field level. We kind of show another path, ADA accessible pathway to the playground as well. A little more direct access with some stairs if we want to put those in there. We have a kind of a location reserved for a new flagpole out here. Conceptually, this is kind of where we're headed. These tight lines in here are contour lines, so the closer they are together, the steeper it gets. So we'll have to have some kind of steeper slope treatment there or extend that retaining wall. So just kind of part of the process we're still going through right now. I'm just kind of working my way around the site here a little bit. Here we're kind of focusing on the west side. We've got the bleachers, press box, and potential for some kind of concession restroom structure as well. You can kind of see one of the field lights right here graphically, and then maintaining some of the site features that they currently have, keeping a couple accessible stalls in here and providing location for dumpster enclosure. It's going to be pretty tight, so we'll keep working with district staff and Franklin administrators to kind of just sort out exactly what the best configuration for them is going to be in this location. Northeast part of the site we'll have for some stormwater detention is kind of where we're targeting that at right now. We'll have a little bit denser landscaping. We show some rough landscaping on here for now, but because of some zoning requirements, because of our zoning versus the residential here, we'll need a little bit of a buffer. Usually take care of that with some kind of landscape screening. So we'll need to have that there as well. Looking at this retaining wall structure, click forward a couple slides here. Again, quite a grade change, but it provides for some opportunities. Pretty good spot for some field and district logoing. We just have a simple Franklin field kind of concept we developed here. Kind of show a bobcat cut out there, we kind of pulled similar what's on this building here, put it on this wall. We can add some ground mounted wall lighting on this area. Really just something here that just shows you conceptually what's possible. Lots of options here, lots of good opportunities. Ooh, I get ahead of myself. Oh, I think we're good there. And then the field itself, like I mentioned earlier, similar product to what you see at the high school, except for the amount of lanes in the oval. It'll be a synthetic turf field. It'll be a asphalt track with a polyurethane. Surfacing, the surfacing use of the high school was a little higher end product, so we'll check and see what the options are with this one. Maybe not quite as high end for this one once we kind of get into the numbers of everything. Stadium lighting, according to Musco, on some stadium lighting here, we just show kind of just a generic location right now, kind of on the 15-yard line of the kind of the four primary poles and light assemblies. We'll also just have we show kind of a scoreboard over here on the left. It's kind of in this location now. Show a scoreboard there, and we'll have the play clocks and just a lot of the standard area lighting, pathway lighting that we'll need for any kind of night, evening events. So with that, where we sit now, we'll really work to continue refining the design as we continue to coordinate with staff, Boyd Jones and Würzburger Architects. We still need to work through some of the city and DNR permitting. And ultimately, our end goal is to get a set of construction plans and specifications to Mr. Pete Perez here, so he can help the district with bidding and procurement. That's all I have. Happy to turn it over to anybody else, or if you have any other questions.
Yeah, so just a couple of things. Certainly, there's a lot of work that's been done here in a very short amount of time. You know, we're talking about, you know, the election November 5th, and here we are, middle of December. You can see that CGA, Adam and his colleagues have done a tremendous amount of work already, and a very fast track. And he also mentioned several of the entities that we still need to continue to work with. He mentioned the city, he mentioned DNR, he mentioned certainly dealing with some of the manufacturers of these products, right? So I offer all of that to tell you that CGA and Würzburger have both been very easy to work with so far. And in talking about their contracts, their fees, they provided fair and reasonable fees for what they're doing. And you can see that they didn't hesitate to jump on it. So the next steps, if you will, is for us to continue to develop the design. We've talked about putting the documents out for bid mid-January. About a 3 to 4 week bidding period. So we would open bids around the first, second week of February at the latest. Make a recommendation to you all to award contracts based on those bid results, and then award those contracts. The reason we want to get out as soon as possible is the contractors and the suppliers that put together this type of product fill up very early in the year for their summer season, which leads me to the start of construction. My team will tell you I'm the kind that just wants to go. Let's go. But the thing we deal with here in Iowa is winter. And once the ground freezes, we have to wait for it to thaw somewhat. There I go, wanting to go, right? So hurry up and thaw. But I say that because our goal is to get in the ground as soon as the frost lets up and the ground thaws out. And in order to do that, we want to make sure that we get the bulk of this work done during the summer so we can minimally disturb the activities of Franklin Elementary School, the kids, the teachers, the staff there. There may be some long lead items that we're still investigating that may come in after summer, but we'll make sure that we coordinate what those are, who's going to be there, and how long it's going to take to put those together. So again, the snapshot is put the documents out mid-January, receipt of bids first, second week of February at the latest, award contracts mid-February, and then let the contractors procure their material and make sure that we're ready to go once the ground thaws. Now, I say that, and Adam mentioned the retaining walls on the east side. It's very important that we continue to collaborate because that's a public street. There's utilities buried there, and for us to dig that closely to it, we're going to have to be extremely mindful that we don't undermine 13th Street. So all of that is going to take coordination with Adam and some other folks, and Chuck has already volunteered to be out there this week, Friday, actually. They're going to be doing some soil borings.
He's on the payroll now.
Okay, all right.
So it's not a volunteer.
Not volunteer. So we want to do that subsurface investigation as soon as possible so that we know what we're dealing with from a soils standpoint, right? So it's verification of what's out there so that they can design the systems accordingly. So activity starting. It's in design, but you'll see some activity out on site before we get a hard freeze. So.
Tom, I didn't ask you to present, but is there anything you want to add, or?
Well, I think our first goal is to try to figure out the scope. But at this point, we've kind of had a moving target, not really defined very well, and so we have to look at our options. At one point we were looking at a freestanding building out there somewhere. Site's really tight. Now we're looking at integrating it into possibly with the bleachers and the press box to see if we could do that. If we do that, I know it's going to affect the bleacher design to be more of a custom design than just their standards. because of the space we'll need for this building. We also have to figure out what all's gonna be in that building. We know concessions and restrooms, but do we need storage? I know, mechanical, as mentioned, he needs a control room, a place to bring his power and his controls in. He'd like some space in that building. And whether or not we want team rooms, a place for the teams to go in the event of bad weather or something should happen out there as well. So I've got a lot of questions that we need to get answers to fairly quickly as well.
Yeah, so there's some upcoming meetings that will help kind of answer some of these questions. We've got a meeting coming up with your tech director to make sure that the needs of IT for this facility are met. We've also got team meetings coming up, design team, and after the holidays, we'll certainly gather some more input with the stakeholders from your side. The other meeting that could happen is, again, continuous conversation with the city, because we want to make sure that we're addressing their questions, not just on 13th, but also on 14th. It's a narrow street to move heavy equipment in and out. That's really the only access point we have. So we're already starting to think logistics in terms of what happens. Where do we park? Where do we unload excavators, bulldozers? All of that fun stuff, right? So we'll keep talking. Any questions?
Pete, I appreciate, having local contractors, 2 local contractors on this project. It means a lot to the community. The question I have is, first most is that this is elementary, and navigating that, making sure, it sounds like you guys have put a plan together, or starting to put a plan together, make sure that elementary kids are served during the school day. With the space and stuff, you feel comfortable with that, correct?
We do. So we want to make sure that once we have the plan more finalized and the timeline a little bit more dialed in, that we sit down with the principal here at this building and make sure that we understand the activities of the students and the staff and when those are. Because I say we'll get started in the spring. We know school is still in session, so we'll have to be mindful that those occupants are not being compromised in terms of how they use the facility, and minimize disruption to that as best as we can.
Long term, you're looking at how the elementary is still going to be able to use that space also.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
And then the second thing is just kind of more of a design. I think you hit on it too. My question was, with the fields, there probably has to be some machine to take care of it, with storage and stuff. It sounds like you're working through that. But the thing is, I'm just curious we're looking at the track. Are we coming in with constraints because we're adding, before we didn't have a soccer field years ago, so we had to widen it? What's constraints at? Because it's always had a track.
So, well, this is a standard 400-meter track. I'm not sure if the track out there today meets the current design standards for the track system. And really to get, the football field, soccer field in there, this is a fairly standard, track design for that. So I'd have to check. I could probably see what that existing track looks like, but I don't think it necessarily meets the current design standards for Iowa State High School track use.
Okay.
And that most definitely would not fit a regulation soccer situation. So.
Correct. So what we have here right now, the yellow line is, I believe that's maxed out to kind of meet also the NCAA design guidelines. But what we'll do on this one is we will push it in a little bit, just to make sure it meets postseason play requirements for both boys and girls. Postseason soccer play. That really doesn't affect the track design too much. There's a handful of standard track designs that really we use out here for things like this, and just essentially fitting the football field in there alone, and then having space also for the high jump and for the long jumps. Pretty standard layout here.
And last thing, I think, Pete, you alerted us to is, we want to get rolling on this project. And the big project also is Miller. And can you kind of just give us a little update, the community, kind of what the next steps there are?
Absolutely. Yeah, so on Miller Middle School, the design team there is currently doing what's called space programming. In fact, we were here this past Friday to meet with the educational leadership team and some of the administration to get those programming meetings kicked off. And essentially programming is talking about spaces, type of spaces, number of spaces, size of spaces. And that's really what's going to get the ball rolling to coming up with a floor plan. So there's going to be a series of meetings that are going to happen over the next month, month and a half to make sure that the number of spaces, the type of spaces, and the sizes are what is expected here. So that the design team is rolling with that. In fact, I'll have my team here this Thursday. I think I need an apartment in Marshalltown.
Where we have a house.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you could just-
Might not have heat, but
Right by Miller. It'd be perfect.
Yes, perfect. That's right. So Zach, I'll have my team here this Thursday so that we can look at both Franklin Field and Miller Middle School in terms of logistics, talk about efficiencies in terms of staging, how we occupy, how we make the phasing a little bit more efficient for everyone so that we can try and squeeze the overall schedule. But design-wise on Miller, that's going to be pretty much 2025. We don't anticipate having construction documents sooner than maybe October or November. And at that, I'm trying to work with the team to figure out how we can get some site work done before the close of fall 2025 so we can get some activity going and get ahead of schedule if possible. Again, I like to go, right? So, does that help, Zach?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
So essentially, we're doing Franklin now because the planning timeline is much shorter than for a larger, obviously, middle school project. And so it's something that we can start working on and start showing the community progress on that bond referendum while we're still doing all that other work on the planning side for Miller.
That's correct, yes. And the design team will come and give updates once we have some good milestone tasks accomplished for you. So that way you'll know what's going on, and that way the community will also see progress even throughout design.
Perfect.
And we quite honestly were doing work before the, knowing for sure whether we'd have the green light with the bond referendum, just because we knew in order to be positioned to be able to go out to bid, we'd have to, Adam needed to see the lay of the land. Benny was out there before that. So, and it's great having Chuck involved since he was the project manager of the high school stadium project. So it's not his first rodeo. And the main difference here, well, two main things is, for the high school project to get done, we had to pretty much vacate and not use that area starting in April. And we probably aren't going to have the same luxury there. Maybe with parts of it we will, but that's a recess and, for the elementary school. So when we talk about not disrupting, there's got to be a plan B, or, we're going to have to wait a while on some of the significant deconstruction and stuff. The other end is we don't have the pressures of being ready for the first home football game in the fall because the middle school uses the high school for their football games currently, and we're kind of sort of anticipating that's probably going to be the case for most, if not all, of this season. So in my mind, I'm more interested in making sure that it's ready for that first track season, spring of 26. If it'll be a bonus if we can play any football out there before this season ends next fall, but the logistics are going to be a little bit different because of needing to meet the needs of those elementary students and staff in conjunction with getting this field done.
Other questions? Okay, then is there a motion to approve the engineering services agreement with Clapsaddle Garber Associates in the amount of $250,000 and the proposal for architectural services from Wurtzberger Architects in the amount of $45,000 for the Franklin Field project as presented?
So moved.
Wise Hernandez?
Yeah.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries 6-0. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Amy, if you can pull up the map of the land purchase there.
Oh, she was not.
So-
Was she here when we voted?
Who?
She was, wasn't she?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Thursday morning, I received a call from Premier Real Estate about the fact that they were intending to make public for sale the 4.04 acres that are directly north to the land that we currently own between 6th and 12th Street. This land is most closely connected with the dead end of Southridge Road. As we've talked about in the past, one challenge with the land we own is we do not have any current immediate access to existing roads. So we immediately started to have some conversations about what we needed to do to purchase it, made an offer for purchase, and have an agreeable point of $75,000. And we also thought we might have to pay to have an abstract done, but in the meantime, they found that an abstract does exist, so we don't have to pay for that. So this really resolves a lot of problems and concerns about, having to negotiate for and purchase other land. It would be nice, I think, at some point to get that approximately 3 to 4 acres that's right along 12th Street there, parallel to our property. But with the acquisition of this land, it puts us right about 20 acres, which is like an ideal amount of land for a future elementary school. The price, I think, is really fair. I appreciate the realtor's willingness and knowledge of our desire to acquire land in different areas of the community for different reasons. It was a little bit short notice on this one, so we had to work quickly between Sean and I and Randy and what have. But long story short, I'm seeking the board's approval to purchase that 4.04 acreage for $75,000.
Questions, comments?
No.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the purchase of real estate in the amount of $75,000 as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Wall, Stanley. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries 6-0. Eric, we finally got there.
Thank you.
You want to take a little break?
I'm fine. I mean, people are welcome to stretch and stand up, do whatever.
So the Vikings are ahead of the Bears on that. Just kidding.
It's also Randy's wife's birthday, so what better way to spend Randy's wife's birthday?
Oh, yeah, I converted her. So, but Sam Darnold's on my fantasy team, so I'm all for the Vikings.
What about the Bobcats? Did they win? Do you know, Sean?
I do not know.
Girls lost? Girls lost. Uh-oh. Okay. All right. Well, this is actually pretty fitting that we're here tonight because we just talked about 3DE and how we can really work to improve attendance and student achievement. And we're going to talk to you about our at-risk and dropout prevention. So Eric is joining me tonight. This presentation might look fairly familiar. We updated the slides with new data, but very similar to years past, so not a lot's changed. We wanted to start off with just sharing again, what does it mean to be an at-risk student, not only here in Marshalltown, but across the state. And you can see There's a number of reasons that you can be deemed at risk, but attendance, poor grades, low achievement, disconnect to school, any sort of homelessness, and approximately 40% of our students are at risk. Anything you'd add, Eric?
No, a couple of those, like returning dropouts, are automatically considered at risk, along with our homeless McKinney-Vento students. So our number continues to hold fairly steady. It's kind of gone down a bit at the elementary level, but it's increased at the secondary level a bit. And one of the things that's helped the at-risk number at the elementary level is increased student achievement has cut the number of at-risk kids at the elementary. So
this is just a visual to help you see that in Infinite Campus we have the early warning system, and essentially uses AI to really pull in a lot of those different factors and help us identify the at-risk students here at Marshalltown. Anything you'd add? It's really slick. It's a nice tool. All right, we can dive into the numbers. Thank you, Randy, for providing us the fiscal year 2026 spending authority. You can see we have quite a big jump actually from the year before, and with our total number of students remaining relatively the same. I'm not sure how to explain that jump, to be honest.
Two factors from the jump. There's prior year carryover that calculates into that spending authority calculation each year. So the spending or the carryover from prior year to this year went down about 220,000. The other piece is the increase in student enrollment this past October of 30 students. So those two factors is your increase for that spending authority.
All right, so diving into how we use the at-risk funding, same amount of FTE as we suggested to you last year. We're not really suggesting that we change anything there. We want to hold on to our partnerships with Big Brothers Big Sisters and our local mental health agencies. Matt has reminded me a couple times that we have mental health grants that have really essentially run out, so we definitely want to make sure that we maintain room in our at-risk budget for those partnerships. And then Edmentum is the learning management system that really supports MLA and MBA. So we really want to make sure that we continue our programming that we've had in place for quite some time. We want to make sure we're able to maintain those SRS positions. I know you've seen them in a number of presentations, especially when it comes to like attendance and SEL supports. We continue to offer Saturday school, credit recovery, and I've shared with you some of the Bobcat University data that the two funding sources that we use for Bobcat University, our summer school programming at the elementary, have both run out. So we want to make sure that we carve out space in our at-risk budget to be able to continue that. And then this last slide showcases the graduation rate and our total number of dropouts. And just a reminder that it's always kind of behind. So the 98 is the new number of dropouts that we had certified for the 2021-22 school year. And this is the data that I'm personally really excited to see as we, embark in that 3DE venture. Just keep in mind that those are ninth graders, so it's going to take some time. I'm not saying that we can't impact this data otherwise, but for this data to really show the impact of 3DE, it'll take a solid 4 years.
I think it's important to remind the board that that dropout number, not all of those kids have discontinued their education. Some kids drop out and return, but they're still a dropout. And it's why your graduation percentage and your dropout percentage never seem to jive. So it doesn't fit together very well in that way. But you can see the impact of COVID in there as it really has impacted, and we're still, especially with some of our, I would say, lower level high school students, still recovering from that in a lot of ways.
I have a question. Why does it take so long for you to get a certified dropout? I'm sure there's a reason, but.
allocation from the state?
It's
Like,
we get it from the
not
state.
us.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. I figured there was something, I just didn't know what
Yeah. It's always lagging. When I share it, it feels like extremely old data.
Right,
to be
yeah.
honest.
Just didn't know if
Been-
there were certain things that they looked
The
for.
Iowa School Performance Profile for the high school
Uh-huh.
shows graduation rate for like 4-year graduation, 5-year graduation every single year, and that would be more recent, I believe, than what this shows on 2020, 22, 23. That should reflect 23, 24. But I guess, I don't know why we wouldn't then be reflecting that here.
So
I don't know.
is this the 5-year graduation rate? Is that what that is?
That's a 4-year
That's the
graduation
4-year?
rate.
Okay.
Yeah, 5 years higher.
For the homeless students, the data collected on that, is that self-reported by parents or students themselves, or how is that
We
collected?
get that information a lot of different ways. I had a phone call just today with a juvenile court officer who was reporting to me that the young person she was serving was homeless.
Okay.
And that was news to us, and that's a pretty recent development too. So I was able to pass that information along and things. But ordinarily, it comes through the registration process. Our Welcome Center staff do a great job of screening families when they talk to them about their situations and their potential for homelessness or their housing stability. Students do self-report, sometimes to our nurses, counselors, and SRSs. Our nurses do play a pretty big role in this work too.
I'm thinking like self-report, like some of the older students, that
Yeah,
couch
older
surf sometimes when they
yeah,
run
the
away or
couch
whatever.
surfing kids
Mhm.
or, yeah.
And then remind me, for those that are homeless, that are staying in hotels or away from their neighborhood school, transportation is provided, right, for those students or not?
It is, transportation is provided, especially if they're outside of their
Neighborhood
their
school.
zone.
Mhm.
Yeah, they have the choice of going to the school where they're located now or back to their school of origin.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
almost all people choose to go back to their school of origin, which is we want to keep
Right.
programming as contiguous as possible.
Mhm.
So.
Thank you.
So the MHS graduation rate for the 23-24 school year was 83.02%. And I, like, that number actually combines MHS and MVA, so I wonder if that also is kind of what delays it.
I'm not sure.
Yeah. Anyway, you can find
Can
that on
research that.
the Iowa School Performance Profile.
Other questions?
Do we need this approved tonight, or do we have?
The next item.
That's the next item.
Okay, awesome. Okay. Do you need me to stay? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I hope you at least got dinner out of the deal, Eric, for as long as you had to stay.
Good.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah, the next item on the agenda is to approve the 1.9 million in spending authority for the 25-26 school year related to the at-risk program.
I think that's because there's carryover balance, is that why? it's-
Correct, yeah, so
That's why it's less than the 2.1.
Yeah,
authority.
yep. So yeah, I gave the total, so yeah, I took out the carryover in that number that was on the slide. So yeah, the total authority request for tonight is the 1.9 million that you see there on the agenda.
Questions?
Again, this is just spending authority. This program is 100% property tax backed, requires a 25% local match. That's all property tax. And as we get into the budget season, after the first of the year, we'll determine how that all fits in as we put the puzzle together. But right now, the first step is the spending authority, which that request is due to the DE by January 15th.
So is there a motion to approve the request for modified supplemental amount for dropout prevention in the amount of $1,993,725 as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Stanley Morales, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, say no. Motion carries 6-0. Rex,
Yes, I'm back. And no news on the school buses. They're still out there somewhere. But the good news is the van for IT and for food service is getting here this week, so we'll have a
Excellent.
backup. So that's good news. What I'm here tonight is we found out back in August, September, that the construction trades through the CTE had purchased a trailer. And when we found that out, Randy and I started having conversations about how are we pulling this trailer? Because we were not aware that we were getting a trailer. And so I started looking around, talked with Todd to see what equipment he may or may not be using, and took a complete inventory of our small vehicles. And we did not have anything to pull the trailer to job sites. And remember, the construction trades is fairly new. It really kind of started a year ago. So it's like its second year, I think, if I'm right there. And
But we've always had it at the high school. It's the collaborative class from
Yeah.
college is a few years old.
Yeah, the few years. Because why I know about it is they redid the steps to my basement. And so last year what they did is they used a van to get around with because we had to transport students at the same time to get them to the different job sites they were doing. So they still have the van, but the other question was, how is this trailer getting there? And what we're recommending tonight is that we look at a crew cab where we'll carry 4 students and the driver to job sites. And normally last year when they came to my place to work, there was usually 4 or 5 kids that would come to the job site. I don't know what their numbers are this year, but they also still have the van that they share with the job shadowing that they take kids out on. So it's a great opportunity for them. And it goes right along with that real life career journey that we've been on throughout this district. And how do we get kids those real life experiences? So this is another great. What I'm recommending to you, we got 4 bids back, and they're really all great bids. We can't go wrong. What I'm recommending, though, is the 2024 F-150 that only has 90 miles on it from Jensen Ford, 448. Again, looking at long-term district opportunities for this in case we need to move it to another department or something down the road, how we would look at things. So that is that recommendation. I know there's a couple lower bids than that, but when you look at the district long-term, this would be a good place. And the funding would come out of PEPL for this purchase of this. Randy and I went back and forth on making sure how we could fund it, and we feel this would be the best option for us.
PEPL or SAFE?
Safe. I mean, they're interchangeable, but safe for this particular purchase, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
How frequently is this group going out and doing job site work? I mean, I assume they purchased the trailer to haul things to job sites. Supplies, yeah.
I can't answer that question.
I can answer for you. Last fall, in September and August, they were going to almost 3 to 4 times a week to different job sites. Then at mine, it was 3 days a week that they were there, depending on their schedules. So they just depend on the kids' schedules. And this year with their programming, how they got it scheduled, they're better off how they're blocked type of thing. and they'll probably be at the job sites more frequently. And the trailer is to haul their equipment that they need, and the truck would also help get the supplies they need there. So before last year, either the owner of the property had to go get the supplies, or the instructor used his own truck to go get the supplies. So we're trying to avoid someone using their personal vehicle for school purposes.
But sounds like fairly frequent use,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
Yep, during the school year. And I don't know what their plans are during the summer, if they're going to do some things in the summer, but during the school year, yes.
Any other questions? If not, is there a motion to approve the purchase of a Ford F-150 crew cab truck from Jensen Ford in the amount of $48,000 as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Wall, Stanley? All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rex.
I'll be back when the bus arrives.
Rex, just drive the bus here.
Grab some dinner, Rex.
Okay, I don't have much of a voice, so hopefully you guys aren't too hard on me. This might seem like something new. I'm sure you remember it's been a while since I've talked about this, but we last year got New Line interactive touch panels for the high school. And those are basically really big TVs that you can interact with. They have casting capabilities built in, and you can also plug your device into them. So those were implemented at the high school, and we consider them a successful implementation. We're now in December, and we are really not getting many, if any, tickets on them. The staff has figured out how to use them. And the nice part about New Lines is they integrate with Google. So you basically just give them a keyboard and a mouse, and they can be wireless throughout their classroom. So they can sign in to their drive and have whatever they need right there on the device without even really needing to use their personal device. So the goal was always to follow our replacement cycle. So our projectors are currently 6 years old. So when we were thinking about what schools would we put New Lines in, we kind of thought, well, maybe we could do some of them in this fiscal year and then some of them in the next fiscal year. But to me, that would mean just after July 1st. So when we really got looking at the quotes, I talked to Alex from Bloom, and she said, well, the best price that you're going to get for all of these is going to be in December. You're going to get $50 off a unit, and pretty much you're never going to get that price again. So maybe talk to Randy and see if this is something that is possible. And after talking to Randy and Dr. Schutte, we really thought not only is it possible, but it would be really good for all of the elementaries to come back over the summer to similar equipment. Subs would know how to use the equipment throughout. We'd be staying true to our replacement cycle of replacing those projectors. And then also, as a tech director, I'm always trying to figure out systems, processes, and procedures that can be developed across the district so that we're not learning new things. My tech staff doesn't have to know 4 different platforms. They know one platform, and then you find a device that can be managed remotely. So this really ticks all of those boxes, and there's a number of other cost-saving things as well. These units are a little more expensive than a typical projector, but not by far. And when you think about the fact that they have casting available within them, that's the ability to show what's on my computer on the screen from across the room without a wire. That's built in, so that's not an extra device that we not only have to spend like human capital on of my team going out to troubleshoot, but we also don't have to spend the recurring yearly license and the hardware to buy devices that make a projector capable of doing that. So with those things in mind and some other cost-saving things as well, such as cabling, we don't need to cable. We don't need to worry about the eye projection application going onto devices, a number of things. I really think that putting forth this proposal to you now is the best option for our school district, and having new lines in every single building. We would buy them for everywhere except Miller. Miller, we believe that we can keep piecing together our older projectors and keep replacing them and keeping that working well until we're to the point where we have newer classrooms, and then we can put new technology in that rather than a couple-year-old technology.
How long ago was it when we purchased projectors for the classroom?
It was 2019.
2019.
So when they're implemented in 2025, they'll all be 6 years old. And it's also useful to note that the bulbs, this is about the time where they start going out, and we've seen that a lot. There's increased tickets and the bulbs and projectors going out, which is not a concern for the new lines.
What's the life of the new lines?
About the same. We have Promethean boards that are just 8 years old and going out of use right now. Just a couple of them that we had for special ed. So that's about how long we intend to use them, 7 or 8 years.
Curiosity, so it would be every classroom would get this technology in elementary school?
It would be every general classroom. We actually walked, Bloom has a really good representative. We actually walked every single classroom, and we basically have a standard classroom size in mind for what would fit a 65-inch, what would fit a 75-inch device, what wouldn't need one at all, what we could continue to kind of piece projectors in, such as some of the smaller special ed classrooms. So it's every general classroom would get one.
And then, you know, some of the board, when we visited other schools, was able to see this technology and wondered why we didn't have it. And I know we had a visit the other day at Hoagland. Is it Hoagland? Where they're using this technology and
In the gym.
It was neat. But do we have curriculum that will work with the teachers?
Yeah, absolutely. If anything, the curriculum is better served with this. We've really found that with math at the high school, where they can interact on the board in a way that they can't on the projectors. So it's actually, it's really nice technology. The whiteboard basically saves itself. So if you've ever seen a lot of the whiteboards for like a math teacher, they'd like take a picture of their whiteboard and then they'd have to replicate it when that class came back again, if there was something in between there where they needed to use a whiteboard. These are really nice. You can save the screenshot. And it's not just a screenshot, it's interactive. So I could save it to my drive. I could go in, pull it back up, and then I could start erasing it and manipulating like a formula or, really a DOL sentence or anything like that. So they're actually definitely a step above a projector in that regard.
And you want Apple computers for the teachers. Will those work with this?
Absolutely. Yeah, we would not have even recommended Apple computers if we wouldn't have tested them. So that was nice. We got a couple test Apple computers in, and we have thoroughly vetted them with the new lines. And there's a couple good examples of other UEN schools that have new lines and Apples. So it's really quite a good pairing.
Would it be the same setting as the high school where they're positioning them in front of the whiteboard? So if teachers wanted to do the whiteboard, they could still just move it aside?
So this will be different. That's a really good question. We decided for elementary, as we talked to other elementaries throughout Iowa, that we would do them on carts. And it's a really nice, clever touch cart. It's the exact same cart as what Hoagland has, only they're going to be black instead of blue and white. And they have a power setting to lift and lower so that our littles could manipulate the TV themselves if they wanted to interact with it. So it creates, we heard from some teachers that were first getting the devices that they were concerned they wouldn't have space in their rooms for them. They were worried about that. And then as we talked to teachers that maybe even had smaller classrooms, they were like, don't take this cart from me. I can move it wherever I want to, and I can make this the front of the classroom or this, depending on what I've got going on in my classroom.
They'll be able to move it around.
Yeah, you can move it all around.
Because in the high school, you just slide it from one side to
Yeah,
another.
and we did that on purpose in the high school. And a lot of high schools have theirs mounted, and we purposely put them on tracks to try to be able to allow them use for their whiteboard. We find with elementary kids, they're shorter. So you just don't want to put it up where they might not be able to reach it. So it really does work better on a cart, and teachers ended up really liking carts. So that might be a tough sell for some teachers, but I really believe that when they get using them, they'll really like them. They'll like the flexibility of turning it, so the screen's facing the wall and they don't have to look at it or use it, and then they can turn it around. And a lot of teachers will keep using it with like a fire log setting and soft music playing and just things that you don't have the functionality for, you do now.
One last question. So with the audio, video enhancement coming to the elementaries, would this be something that teachers or staff could record what they're doing to share it with the parents on the screen sharing, or how's that?
Yeah, absolutely. AE can integrate with them, and we already do that at the high school. So they can, they basically just sign into their audio enhancement account, and then you can choose what audio to use. And they'll have a student mic, and at least we'll get to the audio enhancement later in the spring as we talk about it. But yes, it integrates really well into audio enhancement.
But the video part, like they're drawing on this thing that it'll show the parent or the child.
Yeah, there's a neat audio enhancement feature that you can basically get the talking of the teacher, and as they're drawing, it kind of shows up next to them. So you can really integrate that way, or you could even just use another software that we already have called Screencastify and record the whole screen that way as well. So really, the opportunities are endless for, course capture, lecture capture, instructional capture, even meets and that sort of thing.
I didn't see the carts on that. Are they going to come on that? Is it on the quote, or did I miss it?
I think they're on there. They should be. Yeah, this iRover is the
got it.
carts.
Oh,
Copernicus.
There we go. There they are.
Yeah. You actually kind of gave me a heart attack.
I know, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that.
They are. And then the thing that I do want to point out that we have asked there's really good installers that Bloom has. And I asked Dr. Schutte if we could pay for installation, because putting those carts together, my team has done it, but we have a laundry list of things to do this summer. So we would ask that the group come in and put them all together and assemble them all and get them all ready. And it'll kind of be just an item that we don't have to deal with. We will be a part of taking the old projectors down, preserving them. Of course, we will put the majority of them up for sale so that we can get some money back for them. And we'll keep the best ones to be able to keep using where we need to for a long time to come, to be responsible about that.
Any other questions? And is there a motion to approve the purchase of new line interactive touch panels in the amount of $690,915.54 as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Wise, Stanley? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, say no. Motion carries 6-0.
Wants more money now.
It's a lot of money. It is a lot of money. Please remember that we work on replacement cycles, and we do plan to spend a lot of this, though. We have a lot of people and a lot of classrooms.
Did you say they last 10 years?
You always want to put words in my mouth. Okay, here I come back for the second round of talking about MacBook computers. I shared pretty much as I have to share again tonight, last board meeting. I continue to recommend this as an option, and I know a lot of other UEN schools are moving in this direction too. I think it's really a great choice for us, and it'll be really good for staff.
Any questions? I mean, we had a good discussion about it the last meeting.
I just wanted in the record that we almost fell out of our seats when Amy said she was going to recommend Apple.
It's a fact. No one saw it coming.
Even you?
I honestly didn't even see it coming when we just did an evaluation and looked at all the devices that were available to us and tried to just give everything a fair evaluation. And we kept seeing the check marks in the pro side rather than the con side. And I thought, I can't believe I'm doing this.
I can see
She
that.
warned us that we would have to give away, trade in our Apple and we'd never get one back. So we're all preparing.
Shauna was preparing to hold on to that Mac for 10 years.
Cracks it. I'm like, do not touch this computer. It's still going.
Is there a motion to approve purchase of Apple MacBook laptops for staff devices in the amount of $502,790 as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Wall, Morales? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, say no. Motion carries 6-0.
I just want to genuinely thank you all for being supportive. Thank you.
Board policies.
Yeah, this should go relatively quick. We've got one policy coming back to you for first reading, 903.3, visitors to school district buildings and sites. If you remember, we added Amy helped us add a paragraph to reflect the new visitor aware system that we have. So I would recommend board approval and waive the second reading.
Any questions? And is there a motion to amend 903.3 and waive the second reading?
So moved.
Second.
Wall, Stanley? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries 6-0. And then, Karina, did you have initial review?
Yes. So 903.5, no changes marked as reviewed. As well as this next two, which is the 903.5, R1, no changes marked as review. 903.04, no changes marked as reviewed. And 903.04R, we changed the policy number from, what is it, E to R.
But it has the same content.
But no content changes.
No content change.
Okay.
Okay.
Hearing none, they'll all be marked as reviewed, which means there won't be any first reading policies for the next meeting. It'll just be initial review policies. Abby, do you have any communications you'd like to share with us? Okay.
No, just ready for.
Reminders, Maria, you've got initial review policies for that January 13th meeting. Anson will be here to present, which I assume means we've got a visit to Anson sometime.
7th,
And
January.
for those of you who didn't know it was there, that's where the book study schedule is right there in the reminders. So,
Right there.
Anson on the 7th at 8:30.
okay. Any committee reports? Okay. Any items for a future agenda? I mean, surely we've covered most everything tonight, so.
Everything happened all year.
Book study schedule is on there.
Yep, I found it. All right, what have we done this evening to improve education for the students in Marshalltown?
Learned a lot about different types of work-based learning opportunities that are already happening and more to come.
I think the high school, what we're looking at, well, what we will be implementing is huge. Give that work-life experience. I mean, everything, our mission statement, everything that we believe in, it looks like we're gonna be doing there to get these kids where they need to be.
Was that a fast update on moving with the bond, and so that's good to hear.
I thanked the Franklin school presentation on how
Yes.
hard they have been working at, the changes that we had at the beginning of the year. That was impressive.
The only other thing, you talk about future agendas, the only thing I think of, and I'm being serious about, doing a board work study with the
Yeah.
culinary or whatever whatever you want to show us. I'd like to do that at some point down the road. I don't know when the right time is, but I'd like to see kind of the students, what they're doing a little bit more.
Or have them cater a
Cater to
board
us.
meeting. That would be.
Different food in the back room.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
That'd be interesting, yeah.
They can come and explain what they did.
What they made.
I was excited about hearing from the student council members who literally, I mean, it's the epitome of student voice. They participated in a workshop, kind of came up with a bunch of ideas, and I don't think anyone anticipated necessarily this was the direction it was going to go, but and absolutely would meet a need, from students to students. So
I was actually really pleased with the direction that they went, because some of the directions they were talking about, it was hard to see. They would be fun for the students, but it was hard to see kind of the connection to the whole theme. And so I agree. I think this is a good direction for them.
Anything else?
I don't love the long board meetings, but I feel like we got a lot.
We got a lot done.
And a lot of good things that Marshalltown is doing that I'm pretty proud of.
it'll be interesting to see what lineup picks out. You have any guesses, Abby?
I can give you my guesses.
Org chart? Think org chart? Right?
We must have gave her enough because she left early. Way early.
Yeah.
Or this conference.
After this meeting is over.
This conversation will be in the TR.
Right, this current conversation. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
So close. I got it.